Chapter 4:14. As an experienced man, Blackstone knew very well what the scene in front of him meant. It was the supreme power realm that his illegitimate son, Dao Tong, had never reached in his life. Ling Feng also knew that it was the scene of someone breaking through the threshold of the supreme power realm. But he said in surprise, "Taoist, it's impossible. There are only 2 young people in the formation. We just saw it." Although the boy was half a step to the supreme power realm, he was hit by Taoist. Even if he didn't die, he would be half dead. How could he break through the threshold of the supreme power realm? And that woman is only at the 6th level of the covert power. It's impossible for her to jump so many levels to the supreme power realm. He Shi frowned slightly. That was indeed the case. He was very confident in his palm strike. Although Qin Haodong had not been killed on the spot with the help of a magic treasure, it would have been difficult for him to survive, let alone break through to a new realm. As for Hu Shaoxian, her cultivation was too low. But the scene in front of them was right there. It was obviously something that could only happen when a person broke through the supreme power realm. Yagi Yukheim said, "I don't know much about formations, but I've heard that there are many kinds of formations in Huaxia. There are trapping formations, killing formations, and illusion formations. It's probably an illusion made by the Huaxia man to deceive us." Ling Feng patted his thigh and said, "It must be so. The Huaxia boy saw that we didn't leave, so he wanted to make it look like he broke through the supreme power realm to scare us away. But he didn't think that even if he broke through, he would only be a supreme power realm master. We have 3 supreme power realm masters and a master like Taoist. How could we be scared away?" The others also thought what Ling Feng said made sense because they couldn't find any other explanation. But one thing was for sure, the 2 people in the formation were not dead. Zhou Tianhu said, "Seniors, do you want me to call the gunmen over and shoot them again?" Blackstone shook his head and said, "It's useless. They must have a way to avoid the guns. It's useless no matter how many shots you shoot, unless you bomb them with cannons." Zhou Tianhu gritted his teeth and said, "If it doesn't work, I can get a cannon." Yagi Yukheim said, "Forget it. The cannon is too lethal. We have to hide far away. Judging from the current situation, I'm afraid that as soon as we leave, the 2 of them will run away. What's the use of blowing this place to the ground?" Zhou Tianhu thought for a while and agreed that it was true. He could only wait there. While the few of them were talking, the array formation had already regained its calm. That powerful aura had disappeared, and the spiritual qi had also stabilized. Qin Haodong used to be the Emperor Greenwood, so he was very clear about the situation of the Gold Core realm. Moreover, he had a powerful spirit, so he did not need to stabilize his realm like ordinary people after the breakthrough. Now he was already at the early stage of the Gold Core realm. He sensed the condition of his body once more. The internal injuries that Blackstone had inflicted upon him had completely healed. At this moment, he was filled with great power. He slowly opened his eyes and saw Hu Shaoxian beside him, weak and dispirited. Both of them were naked, and there was a pool of red blood on the white blanket under them, which looked particularly dazzling. Seeing this scene, Qin Haodong recalled what had happened before he was injured. Hu Shaoxian had given him a small blue pill. Could it be that this thing could not only heal injuries, but also help him break through the bottleneck? Impossible, this was absolutely impossible. Just as he was thinking about it, Hu Shaoxian asked happily, "Little man, have you finally broken through?" She had already felt Qin Haodong's powerful aura, and her heart was full of joy. It seemed that her efforts had not been in vain. "Yes." Qin Haodong then asked, "Shaoxian, what the hell is going on? How did my injury heal? How did I break through the bottleneck?" Hu Shaoxian said with a smile, "It's very simple. I gave you a small pill, and then took the opportunity to have sex with you. Your injury was healed, and you broke through." Although her smile was very bright and happy, there was a trace of weakness in her smile, which made people feel very sorry for her. "Shaoxian, what's wrong with you?" Qin Haodong pulled Hu Shaoxian into his arms. Although they were honest with each other at this time, there was no distracting thought in his mind. He always felt that there was something strange about this matter. He reached out and put his hand on Hu Xiaoxian's pulse. He was suddenly shocked. At this moment, Hu Xiaoxian's dantian was empty. There was no genuine qi flowing in her body, and there was even no trace of the aura of a warrior. Hu Xiaoxian had not been injured at all before, but now her genuine qi had completely disappeared, and he had recovered from his injury and broken through the bottleneck. Although he did not know how Hu Xiaoxian did it, he immediately understood what was going on. Xiaoxian, tell me, where is your genuine qi? Qin Haodong said excitedly. He knew very well the importance of cultivation for a warrior, which was even more important than life. Hu Xiaoxian smiled, put her arms around his neck and said, now I am an ordinary person, and I will rely on you to protect me in the future. Xiaoxian. Knowing that Hu Xiaoxian had sacrificed all her cultivation to help him, Qin Haodong's joy after the breakthrough disappeared in an instant. His heart was full of emotions. He was moved, there were tears, and there was love for this woman. Xiaoxian, why are you so stupid? Why did you do this? Hu Xiaoxian raised her hand and touched his cheek. She said with a smile, are you stupid? You exchanged a supreme power for a good man. What a good deal it is. Qin Haodong did not say anything. He held Hu Xiaoxian tightly in his arms. In the past, he only knew that this woman liked him, but he did not expect that she loved him to this extent. After a long time, the two slowly separated. He asked again, Xiaoxian, how did you do it? He was really curious about this. He had been in the cultivation world for 500 years and had seen all kinds of strange cultivation methods, but he had never heard of a method that could sacrifice one's cultivation to save others. Hu Xiaoxian adjusted her body to make herself more comfortable in his arms. Then she said faintly, I practice the celestial fox cultivation method, which comes from the ancient celestial fox sect. In the legend, the founder of the celestial fox sect was a member of the celestial fox clan. When it comes to the Fox clan, people's first impression is that they are charming, which can confuse people's hearts. In fact, this is an illusion. The people of the Celestial Fox clan have always been infatuated and can give everything for their beloved. Because of this, there are two special methods in the Celestial Fox cultivation method. One is the Celestial Fox hypnosis, which is not much different from the mind-bewitching method. But once you meet an opponent with a particularly high spiritual force, you will be backfired. The consequence of the backfire is that you will fall in love with that person without hesitation, whether the other person is old or disabled, ugly or handsome, it will not affect the result. Speaking of this, she raised her head and looked at Qin Haodong's increasingly handsome face. She said with a smile, I'm still very lucky to meet such a handsome man like you, but there are too many women. Qin Haodong kissed her slightly pale cheek gently and said, and then? He had vaguely felt that the reason why he could recover from his injury and break through the bottleneck of the supreme power realm must have something to do with the second method. Hu Xiaoxian continued, the second method is called the Celestial Fox Life Sacrifice. It is a unique sacrificial method of the Celestial Fox sect. It uses the fox girl as a sacrifice to heaven in exchange for a magical effect. There are many restrictions on this technique. First of all, the caster must be willing to do it. Second, the target must be the person she loves. Finally, the caster must remain chaste. Because of the harsh conditions, the effect of this method is excellent. As long as the target is still alive, he can be saved. At the same time, it can help warriors break through the bottleneck of cultivation. The reason why I want to sleep with you these days is that I covet your beauty, and I want to help you break through the bottleneck of the supreme power realm. Hu Xiaoxian said it casually, but Qin Haodong's heart was full of emotion. He knew that he would never let this woman down in his life. He said in a trembling voice, the price is your cultivation? I'm very lucky. It's like this time. Qin Haodong asked, what do you mean? Could it be that other than cultivation, other things can be sacrificed? Hu Xiaoxian said, there are 3 levels of the celestial fox life sacrifice. The first level is to sacrifice your cultivation. The second level is to sacrifice your spiritual power. The third level is to sacrifice your life. Your original body was strong enough, so I only used the first level of the method, and you have already recovered and broken through the bottleneck. So I'm lucky. Xiaoxian, Qin Haodong held Hu Xiaoxian tightly in his arms again. This woman was willing to sacrifice her life to save me. Fortunately, I recovered, or I would regret it for the rest of my life. Hu Xiaoxian breathed in his ear and whispered, "How about it? Are you very touched? You must be nice to me." Qin Haodong said, "I will. I will not let you down in this life." While speaking, his eyes were already full of tears. Hu Xiaoxian touched his cheek and said, "In fact, you don't have to be sad. You can cultivate again if you lose your cultivation. It just takes a little time. Moreover, my spiritual power is still there, so I can cultivate much faster than ordinary people. You have to hurry up and improve, or I will easily catch up with you." Qin Haodong did not speak, but just held her tightly in his arms. Hu Xiaoxian continued to say leisurely, "The women of the Celestial Fox sect are all like this. They can give everything for the man they love. My grandmother is the same." Qin Haodong said, "Has our grandmother also used the Celestial Fox life sacrifice?" Hu Xiaoxian smiled and was very satisfied with Qin Haodong's title. She said, "Because of the cultivation of the Celestial Fox seduction skill, the spiritual power of the women of the Celestial Fox sect is generally very strong. Because of this, the cultivation speed is also very fast." Grandma reached the half-step to the Supreme Power realm in her 20s. But later, in order to help Grandpa, she used the Celestial Fox life sacrifice to help Grandpa break through the bottleneck of the Supreme Power realm. Without Grandma, Grandpa would not have been able to become the current level 5 Supreme Power realm. Later, Grandma practiced from the beginning, and now she has reached the half-step to the Supreme Power realm again. Qin Haodong secretly sighed in his heart. It was said that fox girls were seductive, but in fact, fox girls were the most infatuated. He said in Hu Xiaoxian's ear, "Don't worry, you are luckier than Grandma. I won't let you suffer so much again." Hu Xiaoxian kissed him and said, "In fact, it's not hard at all. On the contrary, it's very happy to pay for the person I love. Moreover, it feels good to have a master like you to protect me in the future. I don't have to fight all the time." Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Your wishful thinking is going to fail. Now I will not only restore your cultivation, but also help you break through the bottleneck of the Supreme Power realm." "What did you say?" Hu Xiaoxian looked surprised. "You'll know what I'm talking about soon," Qin Haodong said as he put Hu Xiaoxian on the blanket and then pressed on her. Chapter 4:15. The moment Qin Haodong entered, Hu Xiaoxian felt a stream of pure energy injected into her body. The genuine qi was extremely powerful, like the Yangtze River. The most important thing was that it was extremely pure without any impurities. She had never seen or heard of such pure genuine qi. Even her grandfather, who had reached the 5th level of the Supreme Power realm, might have a stronger genuine qi, but it was definitely not as pure as this. After the genuine qi entered her body, it quickly gathered in her pubic region and soon filled up her almost dry pubic region. At this time, Qin Haodong's voice sounded in her ear, "Don't just stand there. Hurry up and carry out the genuine qi according to your cultivation method." Only then did Hu Xiaoxian react. She hurriedly ran the Heavenly Fox cultivation method according to the previous route. Because the genuine qi injected by Qin Haodong was so pure that it had no property, Hu Xiaoxian ran it without any difficulty. It was no different from her own genuine qi. Soon her cultivation increased rapidly. The first level of the overt power, the second level of the overt power. About an hour later, Hu Xiaoxian's cultivation had been restored to the 6th level of the covert power, and her genuine qi was much purer than before. Although his cultivation had been restored, Qin Haodong did not mean to stop at all. The endless genuine qi was still injected into Hu Xiaoxian's body. Thinking of what Qin Haodong had said before, that he would help her cross the threshold and reach the supreme power realm, Hu Xiaoxian's heart was moved. She continued to run the genuine qi to improve her cultivation. What Qin Haodong was using was called double cultivation initiation, which could help an ordinary person quickly cross the foundation realm and reach the supreme power realm. However, the purity of his genuine qi was extremely high, so he could not use it before he condensed the golden elixir. At this moment, the golden elixir in his pubic region was slowly rotating, and the pure genuine qi helped Hu Xiaoxian break through to a higher level. The 8th level of the covert power, the 9th level of the covert power. Hu Xiaoxian also realized that it was a critical moment. She ran the genuine qi in her body and tried her best to break through the bottleneck of the supreme power realm. After a long time, there was a loud bang in her mind. Then the genuine qi in her pubic region seemed to explode, and it endlessly impacted the meridians in her body. Supreme power realm, I really reached the supreme power realm. Hu Xiaoxian cheered in her heart. She did not expect that the little man could bring her such a surprise. In the blink of an eye, he not only recovered his cultivation but also became a supreme power. However, her joy soon disappeared, because the true qi in her body did not have the slightest intention of staying. It had already filled up all of her meridians, and the true qi in her dantian was still growing, and it looked like her dantian was about to burst. She wanted to ask Qin Haodong to stop, but she couldn't even open her mouth to make a sound. Finally, his dantian was no longer able to contain this pure true energy, and it exploded with a boom. It's over. This is the end. He had just recovered his cultivation, but now he has become an ordinary person again, a cripple who can no longer cultivate. With this thought, Hu Xiaoxian fainted and woke up again after a long time. After regaining consciousness, the first thing she did was to look inside her dantian. Sure enough, her dantian had been completely destroyed. Its original position was empty, without the slightest trace of spiritual qi. Wait, what is this? Hu Xiaoxian suddenly found that there was a transparent bead in the original position of her dantian. This bead was even more dazzling than the most dazzling pearl, releasing a soft light. As she regained her consciousness, the bead began to slowly rotate, and streams of incomparably pure innate qi instantly filled her body. It was much faster than the innate qi in her dantian, and it was also much stronger. At this moment, her entire body was filled with explosive power. At this time, Qin Haodong's voice sounded in her ears again, "Don't be nervous, this is the golden elixir." Hu Xiaoxian opened her eyes. After feeling her strength, she asked in surprise, "What is the golden elixir?" The golden elixir is a realm of cultivation. As Qin Haodong spoke, he told Hu Xiaoxian the story of how he was brought to the cultivation world by his master and how he was reincarnated. For such a woman who was willing to sacrifice her life for him, there was no need for him to hide anything. After telling the story of his rebirth, he said, "The reason why ordinary supreme power masters can't form the golden elixir is because their genuine qi is not pure enough. After forming the golden elixir, their cultivation is much stronger than that of the supreme power masters of the same period. The early stage of the golden elixir is enough to be comparable to the 3rd level of the supreme power realm." Hu Xiaoxian was amazed and said, "No wonder I feel that you are like an omnipotent old monster. It turns out that you are really an old monster." Qin Haodong reached out to lift her chin and said with a smile, "Little lady, do you regret it? But it's too late now." "Yes, I do." Hu Xiaoxian regained her little foxy smile. "I regret that I didn't push you down earlier. Otherwise, we 2 masters of the golden elixir stage would not be afraid of the 3 guys outside, and we would not be beaten like this." Qin Haodong said, "Now we can go out and settle accounts with them." Hu Xiaoxian said, "Wait a minute, I have something important to do." Qin Haodong asked in surprise, "What is it?" Hu Xiaoxian smiled slyly and said, "It's happened twice. The first time was to heal you, and the second time was when you helped me improve my cultivation. I still don't know what it feels like. Isn't it too much of a loss? Now I want to taste it. After that, she jumped over and pushed Qin Haodong down again. Outside the formation, He Shi and the others had just rested for a while. Soon, they were surprised to find that the scene of breaking through the bottleneck of the supreme power realm appeared again. He stood up suddenly and said, "What's going on? Did someone break through again? How is that possible? There are only two of them. Did they both break through to the supreme power realm?" Ling Dao said, "Taoist priest, don't be nervous. I told you that this was an illusion created by that guy to scare us. Seeing that we couldn't scare away a supreme power master, we made another one. It's really ridiculous. We've been in Jianghu for many years. How can we be fooled by his little tricks? In other words, even if they have two supreme power masters, we have three. Taoist priest, you've reached the second level of the supreme power realm. How can a little master who has just broken through be compared to you?" He sure thought what he said made sense, but he didn't know why he felt uneasy. After a while, the scene in front of them disappeared and the formation became quiet again. They waited for a full hour, but there was no more movement. Ling Dao said, "I knew that guy must be playing tricks to scare us. Now he doesn't even dare to show his face since we didn't fall for it." As soon as he said that, the scene in front of him changed. Two figures walked out of the formation hand in hand. It was Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian. Qin Haodong looked energetic. Obviously, his injury had been healed, but his cultivation was still half a step to the supreme power realm. Hu Shaoxian was the same. She was still at the 6th level of the covert power, but her temperament had changed a lot. Her cheeks were flushed, which added the charm of a mature woman. She looked even more enchanting. It was Qin Haodong's idea to hide his cultivation. If they both showed the strength of the 3rd level of the supreme power realm, the three people in front of them would run away before they could do anything. It was not easy to catch a supreme power expert who was running away. Once he ran away, there would be trouble in the future. Ling Feng didn't know about this. He laughed arrogantly when he saw the two's strength. "Am I right? Neither of them has broken through. What they did just now was a trick." Ling Feng laughed arrogantly. Then he looked at Hu Shaoxian again. It was as if he had met a magnet. He didn't want to move his eyes away. They had only been apart for a few hours, but this woman had become even more beautiful and charming. It was as if she could hook people's souls out of their bodies. He took 2 steps forward and stood in front of them, saying, "Little girl, you can't always hide. You'll have to sleep with me sooner or later. As for this useless toy boy, I'll kill him for you now." After saying that, he pulled out the willow knife from his back and slashed at Qin Haodong. His eyes were still fixed on Hu Xiaoxian's beautiful face. He was a supreme power expert and was famous for his fast knife. That was why he was called Ling Dao. Even though he didn't use his full strength, his knife was still as fast as lightning. He slashed at Qin Haodong's face at an extremely fast speed. Qin Haodong sneered. He stretched out his right hand and 1,000 blades suddenly appeared in his palm. Then he also slashed at Ling Dao. Compared with Ling Dao's willow knife, Qin Haodong's knife was faster, fiercer, and sharper. The huge pressure seemed to make the surrounding space tremble. My God, how can he be so strong? At this time, Ling Dao realized that something was wrong. He was so scared that his legs turned to jelly. The young man in front of him had not only entered the ranks of supreme power experts, but was also far more powerful than the 1st level of the supreme power realm. It seemed that the scene just now was not a lie. The strength he showed was half a step to the supreme power realm. He was pretending to be weak to eat a tiger. In the face of such a sharp knife, Ling Dao completely lost the courage to fight. He turned around and wanted to run, but it was too late. Before the 1,000 blades touched the willow knife, the powerful knife light had already cut the willow knife into 2 pieces. Then Ling Dao was cut into 2 halves. Blood splashed everywhere. Everything happened too fast. Before others could react, Ling Dao had been completely cut into 2. He had completely become a dead Azura. He Shi's pupils shrank. Although Ling Dao was careless, he was afraid that even he couldn't kill a supreme power expert with one knife. Yagi Yukaim was also shocked. She pulled out the Dajijiri Yasutsuna from her back and was on guard. Zhou Tianhu was the worst. Although Qin Haodong's powerful knife chi was not aimed at him, he was still scared and almost wet his pants. He Shi hesitated. It was easy to kill Qin Haodong to avenge his son, but he didn't expect that Qin Haodong would escape and become so powerful. Judging from the knife just now, Qin Haodong's cultivation seemed to be higher than his. As the saying goes, the older you are, the more afraid you are of death. Although he had lived for nearly 100 years, he still didn't want to live enough. Now he was afraid and even wanted to retreat. At this time, Yagi Yukaim came to him and whispered, "Taoist, let's join hands." He Shi thought for a moment and finally nodded. Although Qin Haodong's strength was strong, he was no match for the two supreme power experts. Moreover, he was a second-level supreme power master. Even if he couldn't defeat Qin Haodong, he could escape. Thinking of this, he pulled out the sword from his back and winked at Yagi Yukaim. The two of them rushed to Qin Haodong together. This time, He Shi completely stopped looking down on Qin Haodong. The long sword in his hand was like a dragon and a snake, stabbing at Qin Haodong's heart like lightning. But when he stabbed with his sword with all his strength, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his back. Then, the tip of a knife came out of his chest. Chapter 4:16. He Shi knelt on the ground with a plop. The long sword in his hand was leaning on the ground, and there was a trace of red blood at the corner of his mouth. He didn't need to look back to know who did it. Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian didn't move in front of him. Only Yagi Yukaim could stab him. Originally, He Shi had a good plan. He would fight with Qin Haodong. If he couldn't beat Qin Haodong, he could escape. He was a second-level supreme power master, so no one could stop him if he wanted to escape. But he never expected that he would be stabbed in the back by his own people before they started fighting. He leaned on the long sword and turned his head with difficulty. He looked at Yagi Yukaim and asked, "Why?" Yagi Yukaim didn't even look at him. She withdrew her Dajijiri Yasutsuna, came to Qin Haodong, bowed and said, "Master." "Master?" He Shi couldn't believe his ears. After fighting for a long time, it turned out that they were on the same side. He looked like a fool. He rushed to the front, but was stabbed in the back. But it was too late now. Yagi Yukaim's knife was extremely fierce, and it directly pierced his heart. He Shi fell to the ground with a plop. His eyes were wide open, and he died with a grievance. Not only him, but also Hu Shaoxian was surprised. When did Yagi Yukaim become Qin Haodong's servant? Since she was a servant, why did she attack them before? Qin Haodong looked extremely indifferent and said, "Get up. Let's get rid of these people first." "Okay, master. You can rest here. They are all in Yukaim's hands." Yagi Yukaim stood up and turned to look at Zhou Tianhu and his men who were running away. She raised her hand and countless maple darts shot forward like raindrops. As a heavenly stage ninja, her hidden weapons never missed. Except for Zhou Tianhu, who was shot in the legs and fell to the ground, all the other gunmen were killed by one dart. Zhou Tianhu was not reconciled. As soon as he took out the pistol from his waist, he felt a tingling pain in his wrist. Yagi Yukaim stepped on his feet with her wooden clogs. After kicking away Zhou Tianhu's pistol, Yagi Yukaim grabbed his collar and carried him in front of Qin Haodong like grabbing a chicken. Then she said respectfully, "I've caught Zhou Tianhu. Master, you can do whatever you want with him." Zhou Tianhu had tried his best to invite the three supreme power masters to set up this trap. He had never dreamed that things would turn out like this. Now Ling Dao and He Shi were dead, and Yagi Yukaim had become Qin Haodong's servant. He had no capital to resist. "Please, let me go. I can give you a lot of money." Qin Haodong looked at him coldly and said, I heard that your ancestors were also from Huaxia, but after taking control of the White Wolf gang, you sold drugs to Huaxia. Lu Hankuan pitied you too, so he adopted you too. But in the end, you bite the hand that feeds you. I really can't think of a reason to let an ingrate like you go. Lu Hankuan, right, Lu Hankuan is still in my hands. Zhou Tianhu shouted as if he had grasped a life-saving straw. If you don't let me go, you can't find Lu Hankuan at all. He will definitely die. As soon as he finished speaking, Yagi Yukaim whispered, Master, I made a mark on Lu Hankuan's body. I can take you to him. Seeing that his last hope was gone, Zhou Tianhu suddenly reached out, took out a small pistol from under his armpit, and shot it at Qin Haodong. As soon as he raised his hand, a cold knife chi crossed his neck. Yagi Yukaim's Dajijiri Yasutsuna easily cut off his head. After killing Zhou Tianhu, she saw another figure coming from afar. Yagi Yukaim looked serious and held the Dajijiri Yasutsuna again. Qin Haodong said, Don't do it. He's one of us. The figure came from afar and soon came to Qin Haodong. It was Li Zhong, who had been treated last night. It turned out that when Qin Haodong came out of the formation, he had already called Li Zhong and asked him to hurry to the Black Dragon Peak. Li Zhong was shocked to see Zhou Tianhu's head and the corpses all over the ground. He thought that no matter how powerful Qin Haodong was, it would be good if he could secretly save Lu Hankuan. He didn't expect that Qin Haodong could kill Zhou Tianhu directly. He looked around and didn't see Lu Hankuan. He asked nervously, Dr. Tang, where is our boss? Qin Haodong waved his hand and said to Yagi Yukaim, Take Li Zhong to save Lu Hankuan. Yagi Yukaim nodded and took Li Zhong into the cave again. It turned out that there was a secret door in the depths of the cave. Zhou Tianhu hid Lu Hankuan there in advance. When Lu Hankuan was brought out of the cave again, it was already evening. Looking at the setting sun in the sky, the once big boss burst into tears. He had been imprisoned by Zhou Tianhu for a whole year and had never seen the sun. Li Zhong supported Lu Hankuan, who was already extremely weak, and said, Boss, this is Dr. Tang and Miss Hu. They killed Zhou Tianhu and saved you. Lu Hankuan knelt on the ground and said, You too, thank you so much. My life is yours from now on. Qin Haodong said, Boss Lu, you're welcome. Let's talk about other things later. I'll help you take care of your body first. Then he found a clean and flat place for Lu Hankuan to lie down. First, he gave him a physique-improving pill. Then he took out the silver needles to help him relax his muscles and promote blood circulation. It was to adjust his body that had been exhausted. After forming the golden elixir, Qin Haodong's green with genuine qi was much purer than before. Coupled with the effect of the physique-improving pill, Lu Hankuan soon seemed to be a different person. His whole body was full of vitality. Magic doctor, you're really a magic doctor. Lu Hankuan was full of strength. He had never felt so good. He shook off Li Dong next to him and bowed to Qin Haodong again to thank him. Things had almost been done. Qin Haodong didn't need to hide his identity anymore. He directly removed the disguise on his face and briefly told his identity and the purpose of coming to Huaxia. Then he said to Lu Hankuan, Boss Lu, there are conditions for me to save you. I need you to do 2 things for me. First, guarantee the jade trade with Lin's group. Second, subdue the White Wolf gang and promise not to sell drugs to Huaxia in the future. Lu Hankuan said, Dr. Qin, you saved my life. I'll do whatever you ask me to do. But these 2 things are really difficult. The first one is easier to do. After all, the Jade Gang was built by me. Many old subordinates are loyal to me. It's not difficult to control the Jade Gang again. But I'm afraid I can't subdue the White Wolf Gang with my current strength. And the actual leader of Burma is General Li Site. Without his consent, I can't do anything to the White Wolf Gang. Qin Haodong said, I've already told General Li Site. You can do it. You don't need to do anything about the White Wolf Gang. When I clean up the White Wolf Gang, you can send someone to take over. Is that okay? Lu Hankuan was secretly surprised. He didn't know how the young man in front of him dealt with General Li Sight. But after listening to Qin Haodong, he patted his chest and said, "That's no problem. If Dr. Qin cleans up the White Wolf gang, I'll be useless if I can't take over." Qin Haodong nodded and said, "What you have to do now is to reorganize the Jade Gang as soon as possible. Tell me, how long do you need?" 3 days. Lu Hankuan said. Qin Haodong said, "That's too long. I don't have that much time." Dr. Qin, 3 days is very fast. After all, the Jade Gang has been under Zhou Tianhu's control for so long. Many people are his henchmen. Before Lu Hankuan finished speaking, Qin Haodong waved his hand and said, "I understand what you mean. I'll ask Yukaim to help you. Kill those who don't agree. By tomorrow morning, you must completely control the Jade Gang." After that, he turned to Yagi Yukaim and said, "From now on, you will follow Boss Lu until he completely controls the Jade Gang." Yagi Yukaim said respectfully, "Yes, master." Lu Hankuan glanced at Yagi Yukaim. Although he didn't know how much help this Japanese woman could give him, he didn't say anything. In any case, he would do as Qin Haodong asked. After all, his life was saved by Qin Haodong. After everything was arranged, Qin Haodong returned to the Tang sect clinic with Hu Shaoxian. Lu Hankuan, Yagi Yukaim and Li Zhong left the Black Dragon Peak together. At the headquarters of the Jade Gang, the core members of the Jade Gang suddenly received an emergency assembly order. They all rushed back and filled the entire meeting hall. They didn't know what had happened. Suddenly, they were surprised to find that the old boss Lu Hankuan suddenly appeared in front of them, accompanied by Li Zhong and a Japanese woman. Those who were originally loyal to Lu Hankuan were suddenly surprised and happy. Some people's expressions changed greatly. They were all the people who had been trained by Zhou Tianhu in the past year. Lu Hankuan sat in the position of the boss. After glancing around coldly, he said, "From today on, Lu Hankuan will be the boss of the Jade Gang again." After a short silence, a bearded man jumped out and shouted, "Lu Hankuan, everyone knows that the boss of the Jade Gang is Zhou Tianhu. Who do you think you are?" He was Zhou Laoqi, Zhou Tianhu's confidant. Even though Lu Hankuan used to be the old boss, he didn't care about him at all. Now the Jade Gang was Zhou Tianhu's world. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly felt a cold light flash in front of him. Then his head flew into the air and blood spilled on the ground. It was Yagi Yukaim who cut off Zhou Laoqi's head. She returned to Lu Hankuan's back as if she had done nothing. This move shocked all the people present, including Lu Hankuan. They didn't expect that the man sent by Qin Haodong would be so powerful. He had been in Jianghu for so many years, but he had never seen such a terrible warrior. This move was so fast that it made people tremble in fear. But after all, he was the boss of the gang. He quickly calmed down and looked at the audience again. He said, "Who else is not convinced? Lu Hankuan, don't think that you're great with a helper. No matter how powerful she is, can she be more powerful than a gun?" With a loud shout, 4 or 5 people reached for their pistols from their waists. These people were also Zhou Tianhu's loyal subordinates. But before they raised their pistols, they felt cold in their throats. Suddenly, there was a maple dart on their necks. In such a narrow space, they had no chance to use their guns in front of a heaven-stage ninja. At this time, everyone realized the horror of this neon woman. This kind of skill was not something they could fight against at all. Lu Hankuan waved his hand, and someone brought a tray from the side. Zhou Tianhu's head was on the tray. Even though these people were gangsters who lived on the edge of a knife, they couldn't help but feel numb when they saw this scene. Especially Zhou Tianhu and his men, they completely lost the courage to resist. Lu Hankuan said coldly, "Who else is against it?" Chapter 4:17. At this point, no one dared to stand up against him. "We support Boss Lu. Long live Boss Lu. Zhou Tianhu deserved it." He deserved to die. Led by Lu Hankuan's supporters, the voices supporting Lu Hankuan and Zhou Tianhu rang out at the scene. By now, the Jade Gang had been preliminarily integrated. Then, with the help of Yagi Yukheim, Lu Hankuan quickly eliminated the remaining forces of Zhou Tianhu. Near midnight, he had completely controlled the Jade Gang. Looking at everything in front of him, Lu Hankuan felt like he was dreaming. A few hours ago, he was still a prisoner in the cave. A few hours later, he became the supreme boss of the Jade Gang in the blink of an eye. All of this was given by the young man from Huaxia. If it weren't for Qin Haodong, his body would never have recovered so quickly. If it weren't for Qin Haodong killing Zhou Tianhu, it would never have been so easy to frighten the Jade Gang. If it weren't for Qin Haodong sending Yagi Yukheim, the process of regaining control of the Jade Gang would never have been so smooth. Thinking of this, he said to Li Zhong, "From today on, Dr. Qin is the supreme guest of our Jade Gang. If anyone dares to disrespect Dr. Qin, he will be punished immediately according to the rules of the gang." "Yes, boss. I'll convey it now." Li Zhong was also full of gratitude and awe for Qin Haodong. He immediately conveyed Lu Hankuan's order to everyone in the Jade Gang. After Qin Haodong returned to the Tang sect clinic, Wu Shaoxian prepared a sumptuous dinner and they had a good meal. Then she pulled Qin Haodong to the bed, saying that she wanted to thank him for improving her cultivation. As a result, it took her 2 or 3 hours to thank him. After a series of battles, Wu Shaoxian lay in Qin Haodong's arms. She stretched out her white and tender fingers and drew circles on his chest. She said coquettishly, "It's so good to have sex. No wonder so many people like it. In the future, you have to have sex with me 8 or 10 times a day." 8 or 10 times? Qin Haodong was speechless. According to this frequency, he was afraid that he would be squeezed dry with the soup of 10 penises as a snack. "All right, you've thanked enough. Let's go to the White Wolf Gang and get down to business." Hu Shaoxian said, "No, you haven't told me what happened to that neon woman. When did you start playing the master and servant game again?" Knowing that she would ask sooner or later, Qin Haodong directly told her what had happened. It turned out that when he was in Jiangnan last time, he had a headache about how to deal with Yagi Yukheim. After all, they had slept together, so he couldn't do it. But if he didn't kill him, he wouldn't be able to feel at ease leaving such a grandmaster-level enemy outside. Later on, he thought of a way. When he was in the cultivation world, he once obtained a master-servant contract from an ancient sect. As long as he completed this contract, the other party would regard him as his master, completely obey his orders, and would never betray him. With his powerful spirit, he had completed the master-servant contract with Yagi Yukheim. From then on, Yagi Yukheim had become his servant. "Little man, you're really cunning." Hu Shaoxian put her arms around his neck and said, "Doesn't that mean that Yagi Shinji spent 4 billion yuan to buy Yagi Yukheim back for free? In fact, Yagi Yukheim was already your servant at that time?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Yes, but no one knows this secret at all, so I ordered Yagi Yukheim to continue acting." Hu Shaoxian asked again, "But why did Yagi Yukheim participate in the siege of Zhou Tianhu? Why did she attack us?" Qin Haodong said, "Yagi Yukheim once told me that Zhou Tianhu invited her to deal with me, but I didn't pay much attention to it, so I asked her to come directly to Burma. I thought that with Yagi Yukheim there and the two of us, there would be no danger in any case. No one expected that Zhou Tianhu would invite 3 grandmasters at once, including a master like the Blackstone Taoist. When we were at the entrance of the cave, Yagi Yukheim used a secret method to ask me if I wanted her to do it. I thought about it at that time. With the Blackstone Taoist there, even if Yagi Yukheim stood on our side, it would be useless, so I asked her to continue acting. And when we were breaking through, if Yagi Yukheim hadn't let us go, it would not have been so easy. Maybe we would have died in the hands of the Blackstone Taoist. It turns out that it was right to let Yagi Yukheim go undercover. Otherwise, it would not have been so easy to kill the Blackstone Taoist. It is very likely that he would have run away. Little man, you're so cunning. You did so much behind my back. Hu Shaoxian hugged Qin Haodong and pressed her sexy body tightly against him. She said in a sweet voice, "Do you want me to express my admiration again?" Qin Haodong quickly held her down and said, "Don't make trouble. We still have business to do." Hu Shaoxian said with a smile, "Now that you have a master at the supreme power level as your servant, are you going to use the double cultivation initiation technique to help her improve her cultivation?" Qin Haodong said, "It's not that simple. What do you think the double cultivation initiation technique is? Why? Are you not harmonious when you're together?" "Well, it's not a matter of disharmony." Qin Haodong explained, the double cultivation initiation technique is a unique secret method. The conditions for using it are very harsh. There must be absolute trust between the two people. The one who is being used must completely let go of his body and mind. Otherwise, the slightest mistake will cause both of them to be possessed by the devil. In addition, it must be guaranteed that there is no genuine qi in the dantian of the one being used. Otherwise, it will be rejected by the genuine qi that is poured into it, and it will also be possessed by the devil. In order to save me, you used up all the genuine qi in your body, so that you could use the double cultivation initiation technique. Yagi Yukheim can't do that. She already has a very high cultivation. She can use the double cultivation initiation technique, but it can't achieve the effect of the double cultivation initiation technique. He originally wanted to use the double cultivation initiation technique on Lin Momo after forming the gold core. He didn't expect that Hu Shaoxian would become the first beneficiary. Double cultivation? Hu Shaoxian blinked her beautiful big eyes and said, "Does that mean that as long as any woman has sex with you in the future, her cultivation will be improved?" "Well, as long as I use the secret method of double cultivation, it should be like this," Hu Shaoxian said with a smile, "then you'll become a treasure. You're even more seductive than Tang Monk. There will be a lot of women rushing to have sex with you." No, I have to give priority to getting a membership first, and then get a monthly package." Qin Haodong patted her smooth back and said, "Well, hurry up and get up. We have to hurry to the White Wolf Gang." In the headquarters of the White Wolf Gang, a middle-aged man wearing glasses was slowly smoking a cigar. He was the current leader of the White Wolf Gang, Cobra Ma Kuei. Next to him sat a thin man. This man was Ma Kuei's advisor, Yan Xiaolu. Ma Kuei took a puff of his cigarette and asked, "How's the preparation for the Hong Kong Triad?" Yan Xiaolu said, "Don't worry, boss. It's ready for a long time. It's just 1 ton. We can pay and get the goods later." Ma Kuei nodded and said, "Well done. This is a big deal, and the first deal with the Triad must be done well." Yan Xiaolu said, "Boss, a ton of goods only sold for $100 million US. Isn't this price a little low?" Ma Kuei said, "Recently, the drug control in Huaxia has been particularly strict. We can't send it into Huaxia with our channels. We can only transfer it through the Triad. In this way, the cost is naturally high. It's normal for the price to fall a little. But anyway, this thing is also profitable. After all, we can still make a lot of money. Boss, you're farsighted." Yan Xiaolu thought for a moment and whispered in Ma Kuei's ear, "Boss, it's not easy for us to make money. Isn't it a little too much to give half of it to Zhou Tianhu?" Ma Kuei had just put the cigar in his hand to his mouth, but he immediately stopped when he heard what Yan Xiaolu said. He said with a gloomy face, "How dare you say that? Are you crazy?" Yan Xiaolu shrank his neck and then said, "Boss, don't get me wrong. I don't mean anything else. I just feel that it's unfair for you. You're also the boss. Why does Zhou Tianhu have to yell at you?" He was Ma Kuei's confidant. Seeing that there was no one around, Ma Kuei said, "Don't say that in the future. Without Zhou Tianhu, I can't be the boss of the White Wolf Gang. And that guy is very cruel. We can't afford to offend him." Yan Xiaolu said, "I just think that you're 100 times better than Zhou Tianhu. There's no need to listen to his command. Ma Kuei waved his hand and said, "Forget it. Don't say that again. At least for now, we're not as strong as Zhou Tianhu." While they were talking, a young henchman with blonde hair ran in and said breathlessly, "Gang leader, bad news. Something big has happened." "It's not a big deal. Why are you so flustered?" Ma Kuei glared at the henchman and said, "Tell me, what happened?" The henchman gasped and said, "Just now, there was news from the Jade Gang that Zhou Tianhu was killed. The old boss, Lu Hankuan, regained control of the Jade Gang." "What? Zhou Tianhu was killed?" Hearing the news, Ma Kuei was also shocked. He suddenly sat up from the sofa, threw the cigar in his hand into the ashtray next to him, and asked again, "Are you sure it's true?" "It's true." Lu Hankuan cut off Zhou Tianhu's head. Everyone saw it clearly. Zhou Tianhu is dead. Ma Kuei was surprised and confused. He seemed to be at a loss. He was Zhou Tianhu's puppet, so he knew Zhou Tianhu's schemes well. He didn't expect that such a person would be beheaded. After a moment, he looked back at the henchman and asked, "Do you know who killed Zhou Tianhu?" He knew how powerful the Jade Gang was. He couldn't think of anyone in Burma who could cut off Zhou Tianhu's head so easily. The henchman said, "I'm not sure, but the old boss, Lu Hankuan, suddenly came back. Besides Li Zhong, there was also a very terrible neon woman with him. I heard that she was a goddess of slaughter. Almost all the people who were loyal to Zhou Tianhu were killed by her." Lu Hankuan completely controlled the Jade Gang. Ma Kuei waved his hand and motioned the henchman to leave first. Then he pondered. At that time, Yan Xiaolu came to Ma Kuei and said excitedly, "Boss, what are you thinking about? It's a great thing for us." Seeing that Ma Kuei was still in a daze, he continued, "You see, Zhou Tianhu is dead. Our White Wolf Gang has completely broken up with the Jade Gang. All the money we make in the future is our own. We don't have to pay half of it to Zhou Tianhu anymore." Chapter 418. Ma Kuei had just been shocked by Zhou Tianhu's death. He didn't come to his senses for a while. Only then did he realize that Zhou Tianhu's death was really good news for him. He would no longer be controlled by Zhou Tianhu. He was no longer a puppet, but the real leader of the White Wolf Gang. Yan Xiaolu continued to say, "Boss, we have money, people, and guns in our gang. After this internal fight, the Jade Gang will be greatly weakened. Lu Hankuan is old and dim-sighted. He can't compare with us at all. In the future, the Golden Triangle will be your world. You're right. Follow me in the future. I won't treat you badly." Ma Kuei patted Yan Xiaolu on the shoulder and laughed proudly. From today on, he would no longer be a puppet, but the real leader of the White Wolf Gang. Yan Xiaolu said with a flattering face, "Boss, it's time for us to trade with the Triad in 2 hours. When we get the money, it will all belong to our White Wolf Gang." "You're right. This will be the first money we'll make independently." Speaking of the coming deal, Ma Kuei calmed down a lot. "You immediately asked the brothers to get ready and bring good guys. I heard that the Triad is also a big gang in Hong Kong. Don't let them cheat us." Yan Xiaolu said, "Don't worry, gang leader. This is Burma, our home ground. The Triad will have to bow down to us even if they are dragons and tigers." Ma Kuei nodded with satisfaction and said, "Tell the brothers that as long as this deal is done, I will reward them. I thank you on their behalf." Yan Xiaolu said, "Boss, I'm going to see those guys now. Tell them to be alert and don't lose the goods." After that, he walked out of the hall and walked to the warehouse in the back. Outside the hall, 2 black shadows were clinging to the wall like geckos. It was Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian. They had been there for a while and clearly heard the conversation between Ma Kuei and others. Hu Shaoxian asked in a low voice, "Little man, when are we going to do it?" "Don't worry." Qin Haodong came to the White Wolf Gang. He originally wanted to kill Ma Kuei and others quickly. After listening to their conversation, he changed his mind, because the triad was coming soon. Since they're about to make a deal, let's play a game with them. Hu Shaoxian asked in confusion, what do you want to do? Follow me first. You'll know later. After Qin Haodong said that, he took Hu Shaoxian and left the White Wolf Gang station and returned to the position. Half an hour later, they returned together and came to the warehouse where the White Wolf Gang stored drugs. At this time, Yan Xiaolu was lecturing the people of the White Wolf Gang who were counting the weapons. Keep a close eye on the weapons in your hands. The gang leader said that everyone will be heavily rewarded if the deal is done. In front of the warehouse, there were more than 10 armed gunmen guarding the place. The security was very tight. However, this kind of defense was of no use to Qin Haodong. He took out the formation flags and set up an illusion formation. Then he walked in with Hu Shaoxian. Neatly arranged woven bags were stacked in the storeroom, all of which were filled with drugs. Altogether, there was more than a ton of them. In the past, when he saw the news about drugs on TV, it was calculated by the number of grams. Now that he saw so many at once, it was really shocking. These damn things, how many families will be ruined by sending so many drugs into Huaxia? Qin Haodong cursed angrily. Then he thought of something and put all the drugs in front of him into the storage ring. Soon, the woven bags reappeared in the storeroom, but the things inside had been replaced with the flour he had just bought. After doing all this, the two of them left the storeroom and waited for the trading time between the White Wolf Gang and the Triad. An hour later, the people of the White Wolf Gang began to load the drugs into 2 pickup trucks. Together with more than a dozen jeeps created by others, they drove to the suburbs together. Because the road conditions in Burma were extremely bad, even the off-road vehicles could only reach 60 or 70 miles per hour at most. Qin Haodong was far behind these cars and was not afraid of losing them. After about half an hour, the people of the White Wolf Gang came to an open field. The terrain was flat, and there were no trees around it. There was no need to worry about the other party setting up an ambush. It was the perfect place for trading. After arriving at the destination, Ma Kuei asked his men to park the car and wait for the triad to come over to trade. Qin Haodong and Ma Kuei hid in the darkness and set up a new magic circle here. As soon as all this was done, a beam of light lit up in the distance, and then more than a dozen off-road vehicles drove over. It was the triad who came to trade. After the vehicles were parked, 40 or 50 gunmen jumped out of the vehicles, armed with live ammunition. Behind them, 5 people carried 5 huge suitcases, which looked extremely heavy. The leader of the triad was a young man in his 30s with a long scar on his face, which made him look extremely ferocious. He was Zhao Chang, the vice president of the triad. He was nicknamed Mad Dog in the underworld. When the people of both sides arrived, the venue was as bright as day under the lights of more than 20 off-road vehicles. Ma Kuei took a few steps forward, cupped his hands to Zhao Chang, and said, "You must be President Zhao. Nice to meet you." Zhao Chang said, "Boss Ma, this is the first time that our 2 gangs have made a deal. Have you brought the goods?" Ma Kuei said, "Of course I have. A whole ton of good goods." Zhao Chang said, "As usual, we will inspect the goods first. Don't worry. Only the Golden Triangle has the best drugs in the world, and our White Wolf Gang has the purest goods in the Golden Triangle." Ma Kuei was not worried about his goods. With a wave of his hand, Yan Xiaolu sent the sample to Zhao Chang for inspection. Zhao Chang took the sample sent by Xiaolu, picked it up with his fingernail, put it in his nostrils and sniffed it hard. He nodded and said, "The goods are good. They are really pure." Ma Kuei said proudly, "Of course, our White Wolf Gang is very sincere. I hope we can continue to cooperate with the triad in the future." Zhao Chang said, "Boss Ma, you have a good eye. Now the investigation in Huaxia is getting stricter and stricter. Looking at the whole underworld, only our triad has the strength to send this thing into Huaxia. Other gangs can't do it. I hope we can cooperate happily in the future." Ma Kuei said, "Boss Zhao, did you bring the money?" Zhao Chang waved his hand, and several people behind him brought the 5 large suitcases and placed them on the ground. Boss Ma, the rule in our industry is that you get the money and you get the goods. President Zhao is a straightforward person. Ma Kuei nodded and asked his men to send the woven bags full of drugs. The two sides traded on the spot. Soon, Ma Kuei's men brought the 5 large suitcases, and Zhao Chang's men moved all the woven bags to their side. Yan Xiaolu pulled a suitcase and opened the zipper. He was immediately dumbfounded and shouted, "Boss, the money is not right." Ma Kuei immediately looked at it and saw that although the leather bag was full of money, it was not US dollars at all, but full of ghost money. Yan Xiaolu opened 2 suitcases in succession. They were exactly the same, all of them were ghost money. Ma Kuei's face immediately darkened, and his eyes flashed fiercely. Using ghost money to buy drugs, it was obvious that Ma Kuei wanted to cheat others. He did not expect that the Three River Gang in Burma would have such courage. It was obvious that they did not put the White Wolf Gang in their eyes. At the same time, Mad Dog Zhao Chang also found something unusual. One of his men ran over and cried in panic, "President, we have been cheated. The bags are full of flour." Zhao Chang's expression changed. He took out a dagger from his back and suddenly cut a woven bag. Suddenly, the dust flew, and all the white flour was sprinkled. He suddenly became angry. Although he was in Burma, his code name was Mad Dog. Once he went crazy, he was not afraid of anyone. Throwing the dagger on the ground, Zhao Chang raised his hand and took out the Desert Eagle from his waist. He shouted to Ma Kuei, "What the fuck do you want to do? Don't you follow the rules of the underworld? How dare you cheat us with flour?" Ma Kuei's face became more gloomy and horrible. He said with a murderous look, "Your triad is really bold. You dare to cheat us, the White Wolf Gang. Not only did you use ghost money to buy goods, but you also made a false accusation. Bullshit, that's real US dollars. How could it be ghost money?" At this time, Zhao Chang had already determined that the White Wolf Gang was going to cheat them. He shouted to his men, "Do it, kill these bastards of the White Wolf Gang and get our money back." At the same time, Ma Kuei also shouted fiercely, "Kill them. Let them see the result of cheating." All of a sudden, the trading scene immediately became chaotic. All the gunmen looked for cover and then shot at each other. For a time, there was a lot of gunfire, and people on both sides were shot and killed. The White Wolf Gang had 60 or 70 people, and they had a certain advantage in terms of numbers. However, the Triad Association had sent the elites of the gang, and their combat effectiveness was extremely strong. Therefore, after a fierce battle, the two sides were evenly matched, and no one had the advantage. Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian watched with relish. He took out 2 cans of beer from the storage ring, gave one to Hu Shaoxian, and drank it himself. All of this was planned by him. Whether it was the drugs of the White Wolf Gang or the $100 million of the Triad, they were all in his storage ring. He would never be lenient to this kind of drug traffickers who harmed ordinary people, but this way was much better than doing it himself. On the one hand, he would kill less people, and on the other hand, he would make the White Wolf Gang and the Triad completely fall out, so that they would not unite to harm Huaxia in the future. At the same time, he also got the benefit of $100 million, which could be said to be killing 3 birds with 1 stone. The White Wolf Gang and the Triad fought more and more fiercely. It was impossible to retreat in such a flat place. Only death awaited them if they ran away. If they wanted to live, they could only kill each other desperately. The battle lasted for a full 20 minutes. Both sides suffered heavy casualties. In the end, only Mad Dog Zhao Chang was left on the Triad side, and his left leg was shot. There were 2 people left on the White Wolf Gang side, one was Ma Kuei, and the other was Yan Xiaolu. Hu Shaoxian said with a smile, "That's enough. It's time for us to close the net." Qin Haodong drank up the beer in his hand and then stepped toward Ma Kuei and Yan Xiaolu. Ma Kuei and Yan Xiaolu's eyes were completely red. Each of them had a gun in their hands, and they were shooting wildly at Zhao Chang. They did not notice that there were suddenly two people behind them. Qin Haodong did not bother to talk nonsense with them. The 1,000 blades in his hand flashed and directly pierced the hearts of the two people. Ma Kuei never dreamed that someone would stab him in the back. He tried to turn around. When he saw Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian, his face showed confusion and unwillingness. He did not know who this young man was, and he did not know why he was killed. Qin Haodong smiled at him and said, "Go to hell. Remember not to sell drugs and harm people in your next life." Of course, Ma Kuei was unwilling to be killed in such an inexplicable way. He tried to raise the pistol in his hand and wanted to shoot at Qin Haodong. However, after several attempts, he still failed to raise it. His eyes rolled back and he fell to the ground. Chapter 419. Ma Kuei was dead, and Yan Xiaolu, who was next to him, had already stopped breathing. Their dream of being in charge of the White Wolf Gang had just begun, and they died together. After killing the two men of the White Wolf Gang, the gunfire stopped. Zhao Chang poked his head out from behind an off-road vehicle that had been shot like a beehive. Seeing that the gunfight was over, and a man and a woman came to him, he slowly stood up, clenched the pistol in his hand, looked at Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian warily, and asked, "Who are you?" Qin Haodong said, "It doesn't matter who I am. I'll spare your life today. Go back and tell the president of the triad that if he dares to sell drugs to Huaxia in the future, the triad will perish." "Boy, do you know who you're talking to?" After fighting for so long, the mad dog Zhao Chang was still fierce. He raised his gun and pointed it at Qin Haodong's face. But as soon as he raised his hand, he saw a flash of purple light in front of him, and then there was a sharp pain in his mind. His severed arm and the desert eagle fell to the ground together. Zhao Chang's arm was cut off, but Hu Xiaoxian's face did not change. She smiled and put away the purple flash sword. Qin Haodong said, "You're lucky. I still need a messenger. Otherwise, you'll die like them today. Get out of here." After that, a strong murderous aura was suddenly released. Even though Zhao Chang was known as a mad dog, even though he had killed countless people in his life, facing such a strong murderous aura, he was so scared that his legs trembled and he almost peed his pants. I'll go. I'll go." Zhao Chang was completely frightened. He turned from a mad dog to a stray dog. He got in a usable jeep and left in a hurry. Qin Haodong turned back and burned the 5 boxes of hell money, which was a gift to these people. Then he left the scene with Hu Shaoxian. As soon as Lu Hankuan took over the Jade Gang, he received a call from Qin Haodong, who told him that Ma Kuei was dead and asked him to send someone to replace the leader of the White Wolf Gang immediately. He didn't expect that Qin Haodong would kill Ma Kuei so soon. He was full of admiration for Qin Haodong. He was like a god. After that, he immediately asked Li Zhong to bring people to replace the White Wolf Gang. As Lu Hankuan's most loyal subordinate, and at the same time, he had made great contributions this time. Lu Hankuan did not mistreat Li Zhong. He directly made him the leader of the White Wolf Gang and regained control of the drug business in the Golden Triangle. Qin Haodong had no opinion on this. The Golden Triangle had existed for so many years that it was not something that he could eliminate just because he wanted to. Moreover, it was the government's responsibility to completely eliminate drugs. Many local people lived by growing opium poppy. He was just a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner in Huaxia, not a savior. As long as Li Zhong promised not to sell these things to Huaxia, it would be fine. When the sun rose the next day, many people discovered that the Golden Triangle had undergone earth-shaking changes overnight. 2 of the original 3 major gangs had changed owners. During the internal fight, both the Jade Gang and the White Wolf Gang had suffered some damage. They were even weaker than the Lutheran Society. However, the relationship between the 2 gangs was very good, so the Lutheran Society did not dare to make any moves. Relatively speaking, there was still a wonderful balance between the 3 forces. Some people speculated that with such a big change in the White Wolf Gang and the Jade Gang, General Lee Sight, the actual ruler of the Golden Triangle, would definitely stand up and speak out. Sure enough, General Lee Sight expressed his attitude that morning. However, to people's surprise, General Lee Sight did not express any dissatisfaction. He completely supported Lu Hankuan and Li Zhong. Since General Lee Sight had agreed, others naturally did not dare to say anything. From that day on, the Golden Triangle of Burma entered a new period. At the Tang sect clinic, Qin Haodong no longer needed to use the clinic to hide his identity. He directly took off the sign of the clinic and no longer opened the door to receive patients. Inside the clinic, Yagi Yukheim, who was wearing a kimono and wooden clogs, was standing respectfully in front of Qin Haodong. "Master, the task you gave me has been completed." Glancing at Hu Shaoxian next to him, Qin Haodong was still somewhat not used to being called Yagi Yukheim. He did not have any desire to be a master. Moreover, this beautiful woman had fought with him on the bed for a day and a night, so the relationship between them was not very easy to define. The reason why he signed the master-servant contract at the beginning was because he had no other choice. Otherwise, this woman would never stop pestering him. He waved his hand and motioned for Yagi Yukheim to stand up. He said, "You did a good job. There's nothing else in Burma. You can go back to Japan." Yagi Yukheim bowed again, but there was a flash of hesitation on her face. She glanced at Hu Shaoxian next to her and wanted to say something. Hu Shaoxian was as smart as a little fox. She immediately stood up and said, "You guys talk. I'll go to town and go back to Huaxia soon. I have to buy some specialties for everyone." After that, she looked at Qin Haodong with a playful face and said, "You guys talk slowly. Don't worry. I won't be back for a while." Qin Haodong looked embarrassed, but he could not say anything. This kind of thing always made things worse. After Hu Shaoxian left, he said to Yagi Yukheim, "If you have something to say, just say it." Yagi Yukheim knelt on the ground, lowered her head and said, "Yukheim begs master to help me get revenge." "Help you get revenge?" Qin Haodong was a little confused. He had killed Yagi Hirai, and now Yagi Yukheim wanted him to help her get revenge. Did she want him to kill himself? He asked doubtfully, "Get up first and tell me slowly." "What do you mean?" Yagi Yukheim understood what Qin Haodong was thinking. She stood up and said, "Master, Yagyu Hirai is dead. Whether the people of the Yagyu family live or die has nothing to do with me. My big enemy is Yagyu Shinji, the master of the Yagyu family." "What? What are you talking about?" "My mind is a little confused." Qin Haodong was completely confused. He did not understand what Yagi Yukheim meant. "Master, listen to me slowly." Yagi Yukheim began to tell her story. "I grew up with Yagyu Shinji and always thought that he was my father. However, I accidentally found out that I was not born by Yagyu Shinji. On the contrary, he was our family's big enemy. Later, after many inquiries, I learned that I was born in an ordinary family. My parents ran a small tavern. Yagyu Shinji came to our house to drink. After seeing my mother's beauty, he immediately had an evil intention and tried to rape my mother. Because my mother resisted desperately, she angered Yagyu Shinji and was killed by him. At that time, my father came back and was also brutally killed by Yagyu Shinji." Qin Haodong frowned. He did not expect that the master of the Yagyu family would do such a thing. He said, "Since Yagyu Shinji had killed your parents, why did he let you go?" A strong hatred flashed across Yagi Yukheim's face. She said, "At that time, I had just turned 1 year old and didn't understand human affairs. Yagyu Shinji originally wanted to kill me, but he suddenly found that my bones were strange and very suitable for learning martial arts. So he took me into the Yagyu family and strictly ordered the family to reveal the truth to me. He raised me as a daughter." Qin Haodong said, "How did you know?" Yagi Yukheim said, "This may have been arranged by Amaterasu. When I was practicing ninjutsu, I sneaked into Yagyu Hirai's room. At that time, he was drinking with a friend. The man asked him if he was afraid that I would take away his position as the heir of the family because I was too good. Yagyu Hirai told the truth after he was drunk. He said that I was just a bastard, a tool picked up by his father. I was not a member of the Yagyu family at all, and it was impossible for me to become the heir of the family. Later, I collected the hair of Yagyu Shinji and Yagyu Hirai and secretly did a DNA test to confirm that I had no blood relationship with them. Speaking of this, Yagyu Yukaim's eyes were full of hatred. She said in a cold voice, "From then on, I had always wanted to avenge my parents, but I knew that I couldn't fight against the entire Yagyu family, let alone Yagyu Shinji. I had always endured humiliation and worked hard to practice. I was looking forward to the day when I could kill Yagyu Shinji with my own hands and avenge my dead parents. It was because I had been under great psychological pressure that my personality showed signs of being split. That's why people called me a two-faced witch." Qin Haodong sighed secretly. He hadn't expected that the young lady of the Yagyu family, who seemed to be infinitely beautiful and envied by countless people, had such an unknown experience. No wonder Yagyu Yukaim hadn't shown too much hatred toward him all this time. It turned out that killing Yagyu Hirai could be regarded as helping her get revenge. Yagyu Yukaim continued, "Although I have now become a heavenly ninja, Yagyu Shinji is also a heavenly ninja. He is above me in both cultivation and experience. Moreover, he has the entire Yagyu family behind him, so I still can't take revenge unless my cultivation can advance to the next level and become a level 2 heavenly ninja. But that's too far away. I can't wait. Master, I know that your cultivation is high enough now and you can easily kill Yagyu Shinji. Please, as long as you can help me avenge my parents, I can do anything for you. I can even be your slave." Yagyu Yukaim's words made Qin Haodong feel embarrassed. What era was it now? Why did he need a slave? He thought for a moment and said, "You want me to go to Neon with you and kill Yagyu Shinji?" Yagyu Yukaim knelt down again and said, "Master, please help me get revenge." "I can't promise you that." Qin Haodong said, "I don't have time to go to Neon with you. Moreover, if I help you get revenge, you will no longer be able to control the Yagyu family in the future. It's more meaningful for you to do it yourself." Yagyu Yukaim's beautiful face flashed with unconcealable disappointment. "But master, I can't kill Yagyu Shinji, don't worry. Although I can't help you get revenge, I can help you improve your cultivation. Come with me." Qin Haodong turned around and walked in the direction of the bedroom. He wanted to help this Neon woman get revenge. Moreover, they had already had a one-night stand, so he didn't mind using the double cultivation initiation technique again. Yagyu Yukaim followed Qin Haodong without any hesitation. Because of the master-servant contract, she had 100% trust in the man in front of her. She didn't even have any resistance. A minute later, the two of them met on the bed again. Last time, they had lost their minds under the effect of the drug, but this time, they were very sober. Qin Haodong said with a little embarrassment, "Don't think too much. I'm helping you improve your cultivation. Yukaim knows." Seeing Yagyu Yukaim's unique respect for Neon women, Qin Haodong didn't know whether she really knew or not. However, it didn't matter anymore. The important thing was that they were about to start the double cultivation. Chapter 420. 5 minutes later, Qin Haodong found that the double cultivation initiation technique was progressing very smoothly. Although Yagyu Yukaim had her own genuine qi, she had absolute and unconditional trust in Qin Haodong because of the master-servant relationship. She could let the green with genuine qi break through the acupoints and dredge the meridians in her body. Under the guidance of the pure green with genuine qi, Yagyu Yukaim's cultivation soon rose to the second level of the supreme power realm. An hour later, her momentum suddenly soared again and reached the third level of the supreme power realm. Qin Haodong was slightly surprised. Originally, he thought that it was very difficult to help Yagyu Yukaim reach the second level of the supreme power realm. He didn't expect that it would have such a good effect. "Master, thank you." Although the posture between the two of them was a little strange, Yagyu Yukaim was completely sincere. At this time, she was extremely grateful to the master in front of her, in addition to awe. Qin Haodong said, "Well, with your current cultivation of the 3rd level of Heavenly Ninja, it's enough to find Yagyu Shinji for revenge." Yagyu Yukaim bit her lip and a flash of embarrassment flashed across her face. She said, "Master, let Yukaim serve you well." Then, she let Qin Haodong lie on the bed and took all the initiative. This time, the communication between the two of them was very pure. It was the kind of communication between a man and a woman. This time, without the stimulation of drugs and the burden of improving his cultivation, Yagyu Yukaim's obedience and gentleness as a neon woman really made Qin Haodong experience an exotic style. Not long after Yagyu Yukaim left, Hu Shaoxian returned to the clinic. She looked at Qin Haodong with a playful face and asked, "How was the talk? Did it go deep? Did it go deep?" Qin Haodong said embarrassedly, "It's not what you think." Hu Shaoxian smiled like a little fox again and said, "What did I think? How do you know it's not what I think?" "Well, it's like this." Qin Haodong told her about the hatred between Yagyu Yukaim and Yagyu Shinji from beginning to end. Finally, he said, "Yagyu Yukaim talked to me about revenge. I didn't expect it to be so bizarre." Hu Shaoxian nodded and said, "And then?" The beauty asked for help. "Did you agree?" "No." Qin Haodong said, "I think it's best for him to avenge his parents by himself. Besides, I don't have time." Before he could finish, Hu Shaoxian said, "But she was no match for Yagyu Shinji, so you helped her improve her cultivation, right?" Qin Haodong was speechless. This woman was too smart. He said embarrassedly, "It's like this. Anyway, she helped us this time, and we have a master-servant contract. If anything happens to her, my strength will be damaged." Hu Shaoxian said with a smile, "I don't want to hear that. I just want to know how you helped her improve her cultivation." Thinking of what had just happened, Qin Haodong looked embarrassed and couldn't say anything. Hu Shaoxian put her arms around his neck and said with a smile, "It's hard to say, isn't it? Then act it out for me. How did you help Yagyu Yukaim improve her cultivation just now? Show me the whole thing. Remember, it must be authentic. Not a single detail can be missing." When Qin Haodong was about to say something, he was pushed down on the bed by Hu Shaoxian. She repeated the scene that had just happened not long ago. The two of them left the Tang sect clinic when it was close to evening. From morning to night, even with Qin Haodong's strong physique, he felt a little weak in the legs. First, Yagyu Yukaim, then Hu Shaoxian. The attacks of these two women were so fierce. If his cultivation hadn't reached the gold core stage, he would have been holding the wall and walking. After some nourishment, Hu Shaoxian was in high spirits. She held Qin Haodong's arm and said with a smile, "Little man, your way of improving your cultivation is very special. We have to practice more in the future. But I have to keep an eye on you. You're like Tang Sing now. You can improve your cultivation by rolling in the bed. If the news gets out, you'll be snatched away by all kinds of enchantresses." Qin Haodong smiled awkwardly. He thought to himself, "I can't even handle a little fox like you. How dare I provoke others?" Hu Shaoxian asked again, "How is the effect on Yagyu Yukaim's side? How much has her cultivation improved?" Qin Haodong said, "Because of the master-servant contract, the effect of the initiation technique is very good. She's now the same as us, almost at the 3rd level of the Supreme Power Realm." Hu Shaoxian said, "Rolling in the bed once is equivalent to decades of hard work for others. It seems that I have to roll in the bed with you more in the future." While they were talking, they had arrived at the residence of the Jade Gang. This time, Lu Hankuan invited them to a banquet. In the luxurious living room of the Jade Gang, a sumptuous banquet had already been set up. Lu Hankuan invited Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian to sit in the main seats, while he and Li Zhong accompanied them. Although they had now completely controlled the Jade Gang and the White Wolf Gang, they had a kind of respect for Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian from the bottom of their hearts. On the one hand, they were grateful to Qin Haodong for saving their lives from the bottom of their hearts. They knew that without Qin Haodong, they wouldn't be where they were today. On the other hand, they were very clear about the power of this Huaxia man. He didn't care about a small gang leader at all. Two benefactors, thank you for saving my life. Lu Hankuan and Li Zhong both raised their glasses and toasted Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian. To tell you the truth, we have just taken control of the Jade Gang and the White Wolf Gang, and we don't have much money in our hands. If we don't have enough money, we can't express our gratitude with money. Originally, I wanted to give this jade mine to Dr. Qin as a reward, but the mine can't be developed for the time being. I was afraid that Dr. Qin would doubt our sincerity, so I didn't say anything. After listening to Lu Hankuan, Qin Haodong's heart moved. This was good news. If the Lin's group had the support of this jade mine, they would no longer have to worry about the supply of raw jade gemstones. Seeing that Qin Haodong didn't speak, Lu Hankuan thought he was not satisfied. He quickly said, Dr. Qin, this is what I think. From now on, this jade mine belongs to you. After a period of time, when we have some savings in our hands, we will immediately build the road and develop it. All the money from the sale of the raw jade gemstones will belong to you. Qin Haodong thought for a moment and said, how much money does it cost to develop this new mine? Lu Hankuan said, because the cost of building the road is relatively high, it will cost 2 billion yuan. Qin Haodong said, I don't know how the ownership of the Burmese mine is divided. If we invest 2 billion yuan to develop it, will we be forcibly expropriated by the Burmese government? Lu Hankuan said, that won't happen. Our location is relatively remote and belongs to the sphere of influence of General Li Site. The Burmese government can't reach so far. Qin Haodong said, in other words, to develop this mine, we must also get the consent of General Li Site? Li Zhong said, this is necessary, but I have already discussed it with the old gang leader. After a period of time, we will go to discuss with General Li Site together. I believe he will agree. Qin Haodong thought for a moment and said, well, I will pay 2 billion yuan, and you will immediately prepare to develop this new mine. The ownership of the mine will be divided in this way. General Li Site and I will each take 40%, and the Jade Gang and the White Wolf Gang will each take 10%. What do you think? Both Lu Hankuan and Li Zhong were shocked. They didn't expect Qin Haodong to be able to take out so much money at once. They quickly said, Dr. Qin, you are our savior. This mine is to repay you. We don't want shares. Qin Haodong waved his hand and said, the shares will be as I said. After all, you have so many brothers to support. I will go to General Li Site later to discuss it and settle things as soon as possible. He knew very well that he was not in Burma. If he wanted to stabilize the jade mine, he had to have a good relationship with Li Site, the local tyrant, so it was necessary to give up 40% of the shares. The same was true for the Jade Gang and the White Wolf Gang. They couldn't let people work for free for a long time. Kindness was not something that lasted long. It was the most stable way to divide the shares through cooperation. Chapter 421. Now the market for jade was rising. According to Lu Hankuan, the value of the new pit was likely to be more than 100 billion yuan, so it was a profitable business for him to invest 2 billion yuan in mining. He now had 1 billion yuan paid by the Yagyu family and $100 million from the Triad. Later, he would ask Lin Momo to transfer 400 million yuan, so 2 billion yuan would be enough. After discussing the development of the pit, they almost finished the meal. Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian left the Jade Gang together and rushed to General Li Site's camp. They had less and less time to stay in Burma. Some things had to be done as soon as possible. After talking about the development of the new pit, Li Site thought for a moment and said, this is a great thing. I have no problem with it, but 40% of the shares is a little too much. Well, I'll give 10% of the shares to Dr. Qin as a medical fee for my son. He had his own considerations. He had enough money, and he could not spend it all in several lifetimes. In contrast, it was more important to make a good friend with a magic doctor. He and Li Pingan might get sick one day and need Qin Haodong's help. Seeing Li Site's sincerity, Qin Haodong did not say more. After all, the more shares he had, the better. He took a small jade bottle from his pocket and gave it to Li Site. He said, "General, this is the physique-improving pill that I personally refined. There are 2 pills in it, one for you and one for the young general. After eating it, I promise that the young general will never get sick again, and you can live to 100 years old. It's not a problem to have a son." Qin Haodong was very clear about the situation in Burma. Only General Li Site could ensure the normal production of his jade mine. Once Li Site died, everything would be full of variables, so he naturally did not care about the 2 pills. Li Site had seen Qin Haodong's magical medical skills, so he had no doubt about his words. He immediately took the 2 pills as if they were treasures. At the moment, he was very happy. It seemed that his decision just now was right. There was no harm in having a good relationship with a great magic doctor. In this way, the agreement on the development of the new pit was reached. Because there was no law in the Golden Triangle, the 2 sides did not need to form a written agreement. They just needed to nod to each other. After telling Lu Hankuan the news, Qin Haodong said, "Boss Lu, I heard that there will be a raw jade gemstone exhibition these days. When will it start? I want to go and have a look." Lu Hankuan said, "What a coincidence. The exhibition starts early the day after tomorrow, but it is not in the Golden Triangle, but in Peking. If Dr. Qin is interested, I will send someone to take you there." Qin Haodong said, "I'm going to buy a batch of raw stones. After all, it will take a while for the new mine to be built. Distant water can't quench present thirst." Lu Hankuan said, "That's easy. Dr. Qin, just take any stone you like." After that, he called over 2 bodyguards and arranged an off-road vehicle to send Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian to Peking. As soon as the 2 of them left, he picked up his mobile phone and called Mao Wenlong, the person in charge of the raw gemstone exhibition. He asked him to arrange all of Qin Haodong's itinerary, and all the raw gemstones were free. In short, he should treat Qin Haodong the same way he treated his ancestors. Mao Wenlong did not dare to neglect the task assigned by the boss. He immediately took some people to meet Qin Haodong. When he first saw Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian, his heart was full of shock. He did not know how such 2 young people could be so valued by the boss. However, he did not dare to show his thoughts on the surface. After some greetings, he arranged for Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian to the most luxurious hotel in Peking. Because Peking was rich in raw jade gemstones, many businessmen had come here to buy raw gemstones in recent years, which had driven the economy here. It looked more like a county. After settling down, Qin Haodong called Lin Momo and asked her to come here tomorrow to attend the raw gemstone exhibition. After hanging up the phone, he found that Hu Shaoxian was looking at him with a smile. For some reason, when he saw the smile on Hu Shaoxian's face, he suddenly had a very bad feeling. He asked nervously, "What are you going to do?" Hu Shaoxian winked at him and then said playfully, "Nothing, I just feel that my cultivation is too low, so I want to hurry up and improve it." The next morning, although the sun had risen, Qin Haodong was still sleeping. Although the dual cultivation method was beneficial to the improvement of cultivation, Hu Shaoxian did not let him go until it was almost dawn last night. People still needed to sleep after all. Suddenly, there was a violent knock on the door. "Papa, open the door. I'm here." Hearing that his daughter had come, Qin Haodong sat up suddenly. He was not sleepy at all. He did not expect Lin Momo to come so soon. Although he did not intend to hide the matter with Hu Shaoxian from Lin Momo, he had not taken the initiative to tell her. It was a little embarrassing to be caught by them at this time. However, he looked around and did not see Hu Shaoxian's shadow. There was no one in the bathroom. It seemed that she had gone out. He breathed a sigh of relief, put on his clothes, and opened the door. "Papa, why did you open the door so late?" After entering the door, the little fellow rushed into Qin Haodong's arms. Seeing the scattered quilt on the bed, she said, "Daddy, are you a big lazy worm? The sun is shining on your butt, and you still don't get up." Lin Momo said considerately, "Tang Tang, don't make trouble. Daddy must be too tired yesterday." The little fellow hugged his neck and said, "Is that so, Papa?" Qin Haodong looked embarrassed. From Yagi Yukheim to Hu Shaoxian, these two women really tired him out, but it was really difficult to say this kind of tiredness. Fortunately, the door opened at this time, and Hu Shaoxian came in from outside with breakfast, which eased his embarrassment. After greeting Lin Momo, Hu Shaoxian said to the little fellow, "Tang Tang, did you miss Auntie Shaoxian? I bought you delicious food." "Yes, I miss Auntie Shaoxian the most." The little fellow immediately jumped out of Qin Haodong's arms, turned around, and rushed into Hu Shaoxian's arms. After teasing the little fellow a few times, Hu Shaoxian said to Lin Momo, "Sister Lin, you came here so early. You haven't eaten yet, right? I bought local snacks. Let's have a taste and see if it suits our taste. Eat delicious food, eat delicious food." The little fellow cried out happily. Although the breakfast in Burma was different from that in Huaxia, it was still good to eat it occasionally. They all had a very good time. After breakfast, Hu Shaoxian said to the little fellow, "Tang Tang, Auntie Shaoxian will take you out to play, okay?" "Okay." The little fellow said happily, "But, aren't Papa and Mama going?" Hu Shaoxian said, "Papa and Mama still have important things to discuss. Let's go out to play first, and then let them find us later, okay?" "Okay then." The little fellow nodded obediently, and then jumped into Hu Shaoxian's arms. "Sister Lin, you go ahead with your work. I'll take Tang Tang out for a walk." After saying goodbye to Lin Momo, Hu Shaoxian turned around and glanced at Qin Haodong meaningfully. Then, she left the room with the little fellow. As the door closed, Lin Momo suddenly jumped into Qin Haodong's arms. Although they had only been separated for a short time of 10 days, absence made the heart grow fonder. At this time, her eyes were full of longing. After a passionate kiss, Qin Haodong's two big hands had begun to invade her. Lin Momo gasped and said, "No, what if Shaoxian and Tang Tang come back later? It's so embarrassing in broad daylight." She stopped and said, "It doesn't matter. Shaoxian is creating opportunities for us. She won't come back for a while." "Creating what opportunities?" Lin Momo asked with a shy face. Qin Haodong said, "Momo, now that I have formed the gold core, I can take you to cultivate with me." "So soon?" Lin Momo was surprised at first, and then she said excitedly, "Great, it's really great. Then when shall we start?" She had always been eager to be able to cultivate as soon as possible. On the one hand, she didn't want to be a burden to Qin Haodong. On the other hand, she wanted to increase her lifespan so that the family of 3 could be together for a long time. "Let's start now. This is the opportunity that Shaoxian has created for us." After saying that, Qin Haodong picked Lin Momo up and put her on the bed. A new round of double cultivation began again. As time went by, Lin Momo's aura became stronger and stronger. Under the nourishment of the greenwood genuine qi, she finally formed her own gold core. In just an hour, there was another master in the world who had reached the 3rd level of the supreme power realm. From an ordinary person to someone who had formed the gold core, Lin Momo was so excited that she felt like she was about to fly. "Haodong, is this true? I'm not dreaming, am I? What do you think?" Qin Haodong said as he pinched her there. Feeling the itch and numbness coming from her chest, Lin Momo was sure that she was not dreaming. She had really become a master, and she would never have to worry about being a burden in the future. After another round of sex, they slowly calmed down. Lin Momo curled up in Qin Haodong's arms and said, "Haodong, it feels so good to be strong." Then she asked, "Didn't you say that you need to find another one of the 12 zodiac animals to form the gold core? How did you do it so quickly?" It's all God's will. Listen to me slowly. Qin Haodong told her what had happened after he and Hu Shaoxian came to Burma from beginning to end, including falling into Zhou Tianhu's trap and almost dying in the hands of the Black Stone Taoist. Finally, he said, it was Shaoxian who performed the celestial fox life sacrifice. She sacrificed her own cultivation to save me and help me form the gold core. Then I used the method of double cultivation to help her improve her cultivation. After that, he looked at Lin Momo and said, Momo, you don't blame me, do you? Why should I blame you? Lin Momo reached out her hands, held his cheeks and said, I told you before, as long as you are good to me in Tang Tang, I don't care about anything else. You've experienced so many dangers this time and almost lost your life. It was Shaoxian who saved you, which is equivalent to saving me in Tang Tang. I can't thank her enough. How can I blame you? Qin Haodong breathed a sigh of relief and kissed Lin Momo on the forehead. He said, Momo, thank you. Lin Momo said, don't thank me. You're our sky. As long as you're safe, it's fine. I'll thank Shaoxian later. A woman like her, who is willing to sacrifice her life for you, is really worthy of love. You must treat her well in the future. There's another good news I want to tell you. After the important things were said, Qin Haodong relaxed a lot. Then he told Lin Momo about the recent situation in Burma. He said, when this mine is developed, Lin's group will no longer have to worry about the raw jade stones. I fulfilled my promise to Master Lin. Chapter 422. Haodong, you're amazing. Lin Momo was very excited now. Not only had she become a real cultivator, but she had also solved such a big problem for the Lin family. She held Qin Haodong and was about to express her excitement in her own way when there was another knock on the door. Mama, I'm back. Hearing the voice of the little fellow, the two of them had no other mood. They jumped out of bed and hurriedly put on their clothes. Lin Momo immediately felt the benefits of improving her cultivation. Her hands were much more agile than before, and she even put on clothes incredibly fast. She looked down and checked her clothes. After making sure there was no problem, she reached out and opened the door. Tang Tang, why are you back so soon? Lin Momo asked subconsciously. Mama, we've been out for a long time. Tang Tang is hungry. After the little fellow said that, Lin Momo realized that her words were wrong. It was already noon. She and Qin Haodong had been together for a long time. Her face suddenly burned and she was embarrassed. Fortunately, the little fellow did not notice her. She said to Qin Haodong, Papa, let's go eat. Okay. Let's go eat. Qin Haodong held the little fellow and the four of them walked to the hotel restaurant together. Lin Momo and Hu Shaoxian walked behind. She whispered, Shaoxian, thank you. Hu Shaoxian was smart and immediately understood what Lin Momo meant. She smiled and said, Sister Lin, you're welcome. This is what I should do. Lin Momo took Hu Shaoxian's hand and said, you're right. This man is really worrisome. You have to help me take care of him in the future. Hearing this, Hu Shaoxian's body trembled slightly. She understood that Lin Momo had completely accepted her. She knew how much Qin Haodong valued Lin Momo and her daughter. She had been worried that Lin Momo would reject her, but now she could finally rest assured. After lunch, the four of them toured the urban area of Peking. That night, Hu Shaoxian returned to the capital first. The next day was the day of the raw gemstone exhibition. Mao Wenlong had sent a car to wait in front of the hotel early and took Qin Haodong and his party to the raw gemstone exhibition. The location of the raw gemstone exhibition was very unique. On the left was a flowing river, on the right was a towering mountain, and in the middle was an open space of about 100 acres. It was said that it used to be a raw gemstone pit. After it was developed, it was backfilled and became the current raw gemstone exhibition. Qin Haodong looked around. Although the exhibition had just begun, it was already crowded with businessmen and tourists who came to buy raw gemstones. The format of the exhibition was basically the same as that of Lin's group. The raw stones of various sizes were divided into several areas and then marked with numbers. Customers could buy them directly after selecting them. However, in terms of scale, the raw gemstone exhibition here was much larger than the one in Huaxia. Countless raw gemstones could not be seen at a glance. There were also a sea of customers from all over the world buying raw gemstones. He glanced at Mao Wenlong, who was respectfully following behind him, and said, "Brother Mao, you go ahead with your work. We'll look around by ourselves." Mao said, "Mao, Mao," as, "Mao, I," Mao said, "He," Mao, Mao, he. Time, he, mom, he Mao, he, as, he. Then he left his phone number to Qin Haodong and turned to leave. Qin Haodong held the little fellow in his arms and wandered around the exhibition site with the mentality of a game. Lin Momo followed Qin Haodong with a small notebook, and from time to time, she wrote down the raw stone number that Qin Haodong exposed in the notebook. In this raw gemstone exhibition, Lin's group sent a special purchasing group, led by Lu Yage with professional jewelry appraisers, to purchase in other parts of the venue. In this case, Qin Haodong didn't care about ordinary raw stones at all. The ones he chose were all fine ones with a premium rate of more than 20 times, and some even reached 100 times. Under such circumstances, the frequency of his attacks was naturally much lower. In addition, in order not to attract attention, he deliberately slowed down and brought the little fellow along to watch the show from the side from time to time. Gambling was human nature. Every time the raw gemstone exhibition came, the most interesting thing for people was stone gambling. Many people liked to choose a stone and cut it on the spot. In this case, it would often attract a large number of people to watch. However, as long as there was gambling, there was a loss and a win. In the stone gambling business, there was a saying that one cut was poor and one cut was rich, and one cut was heaven and one cut was hell. Some people chose a stone, and they might become millionaires in the blink of an eye, and some people lost everything in the blink of an eye. As the three people were wandering, suddenly there was a noise in front of them. Someone jumped into the river. Someone jumped into the river. Not far in front of them, a figure jumped into the big river next to them. The current of the river was very fast. After the man entered, he was swept away by the waves and disappeared in a flash. Seeing a life disappear just like that, the surrounding people began to discuss spiritedly. What happened? Why did he jump into the river? Do you need to say? He must have lost the bet. He bought a stone with 2 million yuan, but he was completely ruined and didn't get a penny back. No one could bear it. But he didn't jump into the river, did he? I heard that the 2 million yuan was borrowed from usury. Even if he didn't jump into the river, he would be beaten to death. Lin Momo shook her head and said, "It's a pity. Is it worth it for a stone?" Qin Haodong said, "He didn't die because of the stone, but because of his own greed. He blindly wanted to get something without sowing and wanted to get rich overnight. In the end, he could only die." He had no mercy for this kind of gambler. Whether it was the cultivation world or the earth, there were such people everywhere. Anyone who was addicted to gambling would end up miserable. The man's death did not cause too many waves in the raw gemstone exhibition. Soon people forgot him and continued to pay attention to the stone. The little fellow didn't understand this. Her big eyes were fixed on the stone gambling scene next to her. It seemed that she was very interested in the fact that there could be jade in the stone. "Papa, stone gambling is fun. I also want to choose a stone to cut." Qin Haodong said, "Okay, how about Papa help you choose a stone?" The little fellow cried, "No, no, I want to choose by myself." Lin Momo said, "Haodong, let me choose by myself." She knew Qin Haodong's ability very well. She knew that as long as Qin Haodong chose the stone, it would be at least 10 times or even dozens of times more valuable. However, after the stimulation of what had just happened, she didn't want her daughter to develop the awareness that gambling was easy, so she let her choose by herself. It was better to choose a stone that could not be cut, so that she could have a correct understanding of gambling. Qin Haodong also understood what Lin Momo meant and said, "Okay, then I choose by myself." "Which one are you going to choose?" The little fellow looked around. Although Qin Haodong held her in his arms, there were too many people around, so she still couldn't see the small stone. She stretched out her white and tender fingers, pointed to a huge raw stone next to her and cried, "The big one, Papa, I want the biggest one." Qin Haodong and Lin Momo looked along her little finger and saw that the stone was 2 meters high and more than 1 meter wide. It should weigh 2 or 3 tons. It was the largest raw stone within sight. He laughed in his heart. His daughter was so unlucky in choosing the stone. Although this stone was very big and looked good, with python patterns and cracks, there was no spiritual qi at all. Looking at the price, it turned out to be more than 500,000 yuan, and the exhibition here was priced in US dollars. 500,000 US dollars was 3 or 4 million yuan, which was enough to buy a sports car. After all, Qin Haodong still felt a little reluctant, so he tentatively said to the little fellow, "Tang Tang, can we choose another one?" The little fellow shook her head and said, "No. No. I want the biggest one." Qin Haodong was speechless. The child's logic was really simple. She chose this stone because it was the biggest. He still wanted to say something, but Lin Momo said, "Forget it. Since it's my daughter's choice, let's respect her opinion." Looking at Qin Haodong's expression, she knew that this stone would definitely be lost, but in order to let her daughter have a correct understanding of gambling, she still decided to buy this stone. Qin Haodong nodded and said nothing more. Lin Momo waved her hand and called a staff member over. She pointed to the big stone and said, "We'll take this." The staff member said, "Okay, would you like to cut the stone here, or check it in for you?" "I'll cut it on the spot." After Lin Momo said that, she took out a bank card. Before she could give it to the staff, a man and a woman came from the other side. The man was about 40 or 50 years old, short and fat. It was estimated that he would never be able to see his little penis when he peed. The woman holding his arm was only about 20 years old, tall and particularly enchanting. When the two of them were together, it was easy for others to see the relationship between them. When they walked nearby, the woman pointed to the big stone chosen by the little fellow and said, "Honey, this stone is good. I want to bet on it." "Good. I can't see anything except that it's a little big. Don't tell me that you also like big stones?" The man said and laughed. His face was dirty, and anyone could hear the meaning of his words. "You're so annoying. I like big ones. What's wrong? Buy it for me." The woman's voice was coquettish. It was so charming that it could give people goosebumps. "Okay, since my baby likes big ones, let's have a big one." After the short and fat man said that, he waved to the staff next to him and said, "Did you hear that? My baby wants this stone. Hurry up and bring it to me. I want to cut it on the spot and see my baby's luck." After that, he also took out a bank card and gave it to the staff. Although the little fellow didn't understand what the two people said, she generally understood that they wanted to rob her stone. She immediately cried, "No, no, that stone belongs to me." The staff member said to the short and fat man with embarrassment, "I'm sorry, sir. This stone has been chosen by this lady." Because there were too many people on the scene, after the staff member finished speaking, the short and fat man saw Lin Momo. Suddenly, a look of amazement appeared on his face, and then his eyes showed irrepressible greed and desire. Although the woman next to him was somewhat beautiful, compared with Lin Momo, she was simply a rotten leaf, not worth mentioning. He wiped the saliva from the corner of his mouth, shook off the woman next to him, took 2 steps forward and said to Lin Momo, "Miss, let me introduce myself. I'm Li Wangkai. I have companies in Burma and Huaxia. My family has assets of more than 100 million. As long as you're willing to have dinner and drink with me tonight, this stone will be my gift to you. How about it?" Lin Momo glanced at him and suddenly said with a face full of disgust, "No need." After that, she handed the bank card to the staff again and said, "I want this stone. Pay." Chapter 423. Li Wangsai's expression changed. He had already announced his name, but the woman in front of him still didn't give him any face. He took a step forward and stood between Lin Momo and the staff. He said angrily, "Do you know who I am?" Qin Haodong glanced at the self-righteous guy and reached out to stop the divine mercenaries who were about to come forward to beat him. Then, he stood side by side with Lin Momo and said, "We don't know who you are, but in Huaxia, people called Wang Kai are generally dogs. There's an old saying in Huaxia that a good dog doesn't stand in the way." As soon as he said that, the onlookers burst into laughter. Li Wangkai glanced at the divine mercenary standing beside Qin Haodong and immediately gave up the idea of using violence. However, he had lost face in public. His face swelled like a pig's liver, but he still shouted fiercely, "Boy, do you want to die?" He regretted it now. If he had known it would be like this, he would have brought his bodyguards with him today. Qin Haodong still looked calm and said, "I don't want to die. We just want to buy that stone. Please get out of the way." Li Wangkai cried, "No, my woman likes that stone. I can't sell it to you." Qin Haodong frowned and said, "First come, first served. That stone was chosen by my daughter first. You should sell it to us first." The little fellow said, "Yes. Yes. That's the stone chosen by Tang Tang. You can't give it to others." The people around also began to talk, "That's right. That stone was chosen by the little girl first. What's the point of robbing? There are plenty of stones here. You can choose another one." The staff also stepped forward and said, "Sir, that stone was indeed chosen by the little girl first. There are so many stones in the exhibition. You can choose another one." At this time, the coquettish woman held Li Wangsai's arm and rubbed her silicone chest back and forth. "My dear husband, I want that stone. I like big ones." Qin Haodong said, "Beautiful women can't be satisfied in some aspects. Choosing a big stone alone won't solve the problem. Besides, we'll buy this stone first." His words were very vague, but there were still quite a few people who heard the meaning behind it and couldn't help but laugh foolishly. The coquettish woman was stunned for a moment, then she hugged Li Wangsai's arm and cried, "Honey, did you hear that? He said you were small." Seeing that this stupid woman actually exposed it in front of everyone, the onlookers burst into laughter. Li Wangsai's face turned red. He had a stomach full of anger, but he had no way to vent it. He turned to the staff next to him and said, "You must sell this stone to me." The staff member said awkwardly, "Sir, I really can't." Li Wangkai said angrily, "Why not? Aren't your stones for sale? I can pay more. I have money." He took out his bank card and shouted, "Isn't this stone priced at 500,000? I'll pay 1 million. The staff member looked embarrassed. From the bottom of his heart, he naturally wanted to sell it for more money. The higher the price of the stone, the more commission he would get. However, the exhibition also had the rules of the exhibition. After all, this thing was seen by Qin Haodong first. Qin Haodong was secretly amused. It was a big loss of 500,000 yuan for a stone with nothing, but this guy actually doubled the price directly. Since he wanted to be the biggest winner, Qin Haodong would give him a hand. He pretended to be indignant and said, "More money, right? This stone is what my daughter wants. I'll pay 1.5 million. Li Wangkai cried, 2 million, 2 million, 3 million. The two of them began to compete with each other and took turns to bid. Each time, the increase was the original price of the stone. Soon, the price reached 5 million. It should be known that the price here was in US dollars. 5 million was more than 30 million yuan, which was 10 times higher than the original price. These two people are crazy. How can they spend so much money on such a stone? What do you know? Rich people want to save face. Rich people are really capricious. With such a high price, I guess whoever buys it will lose. As the price continued to rise and he heard the discussion around him, Li Wangkai slowly calmed down. He had been in Burma for so many years and had a certain understanding of raw jade stones. This stone was not worth the price at all. Moreover, as a businessman, he was very shrewd in the business world, far from being as stupid as he looked. He secretly decided that as long as Qin Haodong increased the price this time, he would immediately quit and cheat this young man. Although Qin Haodong seemed to be very casual, in fact, he had been observing Li Wancai's expression with his spirit. At this time, he had already seen through his mind. He could not help but smile and said, "Since you have to buy this stone, then I'll quit." Puff, Li Wangkai almost vomited blood. He did not expect that just when he was about to cheat the other party directly quit. A stone with a price of 500,000 was sold for 5 million. Maybe because the happiness came too suddenly, the staff member was stunned and had not come to his senses yet. Qin Haodong patted him on the shoulder and said, "Brother, hurry up and collect the money." Oh. Only then did the staff member come to his senses. He quickly took the card in Li Wancai's hand and swiped it on the credit card machine. With a beep, 5 million was transferred. Li Wangkai looked at Qin Haodong gloomily and said, "You cheated me." Qin Haodong said innocently, "How can you say that? The price was shouted out by yourself. You can't blame others." Seeing that she finally got the stone, the coquettish woman looked excited. She held Li Wancai's arm again and rubbed it. She said, "Honey, don't be angry. There must be a large piece of jade in the stone I chose. Maybe there can be a treasure." At this point, Li Wangkai had no other way. If he could cut out a piece of jade, he would feel better. He snorted and said to the staff member, "Hurry up and find someone to cut it for me." "Okay, please wait a moment." The staff member had just made a lot of money and was very excited. In a flash, he called 2 stonecutters. For such a large raw gemstone exhibition, the Jade Gang had prepared hundreds of stonecutters to cut for these gamblers at any time. The 2 stonecutters used a forklift to move the large stone over and then began to cut it. The people around did not disperse. On the contrary, they were full of interest. They gathered around and wanted to see what Li Wangkai could cut out. Qin Haodong was not in a hurry to leave. He held the little fellow in his arms and watched. He knew that there was nothing in the stone. What he wanted to see was Li Wancai's expression later. He believed that it would be wonderful to spend $5 million on a pile of broken stones. The stonecutter said to Li Wangkai, "Sir, do you want to draw a line on the stone?" Li Wangkai took the chalk and drew a line on the stone at random. He said, "Just follow this line. When there is jade, I will give you a big reward." "Okay." The 2 stonecutters agreed and immediately began to work. Their salary here was not high. Their main source of income was the tips of these rich guests. Chi! Chi! The stone-cutting machine made a deafening sound. A cloud of white mist burst out from the saw blade. The stone-cutting officially began. Everyone watched attentively. Li Wangkai was a little nervous. $5 million was more than 30 million yuan. Although he had some money, it was definitely not a small number. He had just spent it on impulse. Now he was looking forward to cutting out a big piece of jade. As the saw blade continued to penetrate deeper, only to hear a click, but it was divided into 2. In front of everyone's eyes, 2 gray surfaces were revealed. What the hell? It's over. It's really over. 5 million is gone. There was a commotion in the crowd immediately. However, it was Li Wancai's money, so people did not have much reaction. Some people were just gloating. The fat on Li Wancai's face shook. He glared at the woman fiercely and then shouted again, "Cut again. Continue to cut." He was a frequent visitor to the raw gemstone exhibition, and he was also very good at stone gambling. Sometimes, there would be a small piece of top-quality jade hidden in a corner. If he could really cut it out, he could immediately earn back the 5 million yuan. The two stone-cutting masters nodded. They found a new entry point and started the machine again. With another ear-piercing chi-chi sound, the two boulders turned into 4, but they were still grayish-white, without the slightest hint of green. Seeing this result, people were completely disappointed. It's ruined. It's completely ruined. It must be a total loss, 5 million. It's 5 million. It's really a big loss to buy such a rotten stone. He's really stupid. He only chose the big one. Now he must have lost a lot. Seeing the gray fragments of the raw gemstone, Li Wancai's face was as ugly as if his father had died. A stone-cutting master asked carefully, "Sir, do you still want to cut it?" "Of course, I want to cut it out." "You must cut out the jade for me," Li Wancai gritted his teeth and said. The stone-cutting master was speechless. He thought to himself, "I can cut out the jade from any stone. Do I still need to serve a brainless guy like you?" However, since the customer had a request, they had to meet it. So they started the machine again. In fact, there was no need to cut this stone again. People with discerning eyes could see at a glance that there could be no jade in it. However, Li Wancai was not willing to give up. Not to mention losing $5 million, he couldn't let go of his face at the same time. However, in this way, some experienced people had completely lost interest. They shook their heads and left. As the sound of cutting sounded again, the stones that had been divided into 4 were cut again, from 4 to 8, from 8 to 16, from 16 to 32. In the end, the big stone became small pieces on the ground. Li Wancai's face was black and he was finally speechless. The coquettish woman was also like a frosted eggplant. She stood aside honestly. "It's fun, it's fun." The little fellow was watching with relish, as if she had seen the most interesting thing. She clapped her hands and shouted happily. Qin Haodong took 2 steps forward with the little fellow in his arms and said to Li Wancai and the woman, "Don't learn everything from others in the future. My daughter wants the big one, so you should follow her. Now you're dumbfounded, aren't you? It's all your fault. If you hadn't chosen that stone, we wouldn't have chosen it." Speaking of this, the woman seemed to have found a vent in an instant. She roared like a shrew, "What do you think the raw gemstone is? You have to choose the big one. That stone is big. Why didn't you choose it?" She raised her hand and pointed to the river next to her. Qin Haodong looked in the direction of her finger and saw a big stone weighing 30 or 40 tons in the center of the river. Under the impact of the river, it set off a thick mist of water. When he saw the stone clearly, his expression suddenly changed. Chapter 424. The reason why Qin Haodong was so shocked was that the spiritual qi contained in this stone was so rich that it was much richer than that of the king green he had seen before. However, because the river was flowing fast and it was covered by the mist, he didn't find it just now. Could it be that such a big stone was full of jade? Good stuff, really good stuff. At this time, he was very excited, and he didn't hate the coquettish woman so much. After all, without this woman's provocation, he wouldn't have noticed this stone. Seeing that Qin Haodong didn't speak, the coquettish woman felt that she finally got back a little face and said, "Why don't you speak? Don't you want a big one? This stone is big enough. Why don't you want it?" "Who said I don't want it?" Qin Haodong turned around and said something that surprised everyone. "I want this stone. No one is allowed to take it from me." Hearing his words, the eyes of the people around him fell to the ground. Was this young man crazy? This stone was the river-suppressing stone of this river. No one could remember how many years it had been here. In everyone's eyes, it was a stubborn stone. Such a big stone did not have a single crack. It was smooth and had no python patterns or spots. No matter how they looked at it, it had nothing to do with jade. Because of this, no one had paid attention to the suppressing river stone for so many years in the raw gemstone trading market. Everyone was shocked speechless, but the little fellow clapped her hands and shouted, "Great! Great! Daddy chose the biggest stone." Her world was very simple. The bigger the stone, the better. The coquettish woman just wanted to hit Qin Haodong with the suppressing river stone. She didn't expect that he would really say that he wanted to buy it. However, she didn't believe what Qin Haodong said in any case. She said, "You Huaxia people always brag like this. Did you force me?" Qin Haodong forcibly suppressed his inner excitement and ignored the woman. He took out his mobile phone and called Mao Wenlong directly. Soon, Mao Wenlong rushed over with his people and said respectfully to Qin Haodong, "Mr. Qin, what can I do for you?" Qin Haodong pointed to the suppressing river stone and said, "How much is that stone?" "I want it." Mao Wenlong was shocked. He couldn't believe his ears. If Qin Haodong hadn't been a distinguished guest, he would have suspected that he was crazy. He took a deep breath, calmed down, and said, "Mr. Qin, what do you want it for?" Qin Haodong said, "Of course, to see if there is jade inside." Seeing his serious expression, the people around him laughed. Although Burma was rich in jadeite, it didn't mean that there was jade in any stone. The suppressing river stone was just an ordinary big stone. How could there be jade in it? Mao Wenlong suppressed the urge to curse and said, "Mr. Qin, that's our suppressing river stone. It's just a stone. It's not even a raw jade stone. There can't be jade in it." Qin Haodong said indifferently, "It doesn't matter. It's big enough. Maybe there are treasures inside." The people who were watching the show were about to collapse. The little girl said that she liked the big one, but that was a child's babble. That woman insisted on the big one, and she was brainless. Now, someone jumped out and asked for an even bigger stone. What the hell was this? It was simply an indescribable super moron. But Mao Wenlong felt that with his IQ, he really couldn't talk to the young man in front of him. He was a fucking lunatic. Qin Haodong said, "What's wrong? Is it difficult? Could it be that this stone is the treasure of your jade gang? Do you want me to call Boss Lu?" No. No. Mao Wenlong came to his senses. The gang leader had specially told him to treat the young man like an ancestor. Although the other party was a little moron, if he was really angry, the gang leader would definitely not spare him. He hurriedly said, "Since Mr. Qin likes it, this stone is yours." Qin Haodong looked happy and said, "How much is it?" Wang Wenlong said, "It's free." "It's for free. Are you serious? Are you really giving it to me?" Qin Haodong couldn't believe it was true. Judging from the spiritual qi contained in this large piece of suppressing river stone, the jade contained in it was worth at least billions of yuan. Now it was given to him for free. Mao Wenlong was really speechless. It was just a broken stone. Why were they so excited? "Yes, it's for you." Qin Haodong turned to look at Li Wangkai and said, "Brother, this stone is big. Why don't we bid again?" Li Wangkai was speechless. Did he really think he was a moron? "I won't be fooled by you. It's just such an ordinary stone. I'm afraid you'll make a deal as soon as I bid. I won't be fooled by you." Seeing that Li Wangkai didn't say anything, Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Since you're not interested, then this stone is mine." He turned back and said to Mao Wenlong, "Hurry up and help me get it up. I want to cut it on the spot." Mao Wenlong said with a bitter face, "Mr. Qin, are you serious? You're not joking, are you?" Qin Haodong said, "Of course not. Hurry up and help me get it up. I'll pay for it." Seeing that Qin Haodong was serious, Mao Wenlong could only do as he said. Although the suppressing river stone was in the center of the river and weighed more than 30 tons, there were many large mining machines in the raw gemstone exhibition venue. A stone weighing more than 30 tons was not a big deal. About an hour later, the huge suppressing river stone was parked in the venue of the raw gemstone exhibition. This time, the whole venue was boiling. Many people heard that a fool had brought the suppressing river stone up and wanted to cut it on the spot. They all came to watch the fun. There were 3 layers of people inside and 3 layers outside. Some people even took out their mobile phones to broadcast live. Many people felt bored after watching for a while and slowly dispersed. Qin Haodong chose a smooth stone and sat down with the little fellow in his arms. This suppressing river stone was rich in spiritual qi. There must be something good in it, but he didn't know when it would appear. He had to keep a close eye on it. He couldn't let these people hurt the jade inside. Li Wangkai glanced at the gray and white stone chips that had been cut off from the suppressing river stone, and his face was full of disdain. At this time, he had already determined that the young man in front of him was a prodigal who had money but no place to spend it. He stepped in front of Qin Haodong and said, "Boy, the bigger the better. Just like your broken stone, there must be nothing in it." Hearing what he said, the little fellow immediately said unconvinced, "Nonsense, Papa is very powerful. There must be a treasure in the stone that Papa chose." Qin Haodong looked up at him and said with a smile, "Did you hear that? My daughter said that there must be a treasure in the stone, and it is so big. There must be something good." Hearing what he said, there was a burst of laughter around him. Everyone disagreed with his statement. Was there a treasure just because a child said that there was a treasure? Must there be something good in a big stone? Just now your daughter chose that big stone, but there was nothing in it. Li Wangkai thought so. He had already determined that there would be no jade in this stone. He said, "Since you are so sure, do you dare to make a bet with me?" Qin Haodong said, "Well, I like to bet, and I have always been lucky. I have never lost a bet." A trace of sarcasm flashed across Li Wangkai's fat face and he said, "Let's bet $10 million. As long as you cut out a nail-sized jade in this stone, I will lose." As soon as he said this, there was another uproar in the crowd. This fat man thinks he is a fool. $10 million is not a small number. Who will bet with him? I can see that he just lost $5 million because he wants to get it back from this young man. It's a bet that he will lose. As long as this young man is not stupid, he will definitely not bet with him. Everyone expressed their opinions. Qin Haodong looked at Li Wangkai with a smile and said lightly, "Well, I will bet with you." Everyone opened their mouths in surprise. This young man was really stupid. Chapter 425. Qin Haodong's decision was beyond everyone's expectations. In their opinion, this was a bet that he would definitely lose, but this handsome young man actually agreed. Some people thought that Lin Momo, who was standing behind Qin Haodong, would definitely stop him. After all, it was $10 million. No matter how rich he was, he wouldn't take it out so casually. Unexpectedly, they were disappointed again. Lin Momo didn't respond as if she hadn't heard anything. People sighed. It was a pity that the 2 good-looking people had mental problems. It seemed that God was still fair. He gave them an enviable appearance, but not a normal brain. Li Wangkai really wanted to earn back the $5 million he had just lost from Qin Haodong. Seeing that Qin Haodong had agreed to his request, he immediately said with joy, "Are you sure?" Qin Haodong said indifferently, "Of course I'm sure. It's just $10 million. It's not a big deal." Li Wangkai quickly said, "Then we'll notarize it at the raw gemstone exhibition now." After that, he took out his checkbook and wrote a check for $10 million. He turned around and handed it to Mao Wenlong, who was standing next to him. "This is my $10 million. Please notarize it at the exhibition." It turned out that the raw gemstone exhibition had this item. In the past, there were often gamblers who gambled with each other. The raw gemstone exhibition would provide free notarization services, but both sides of the bet had to pledge the bet first. "Mr. Qin, do you really want to bet?" Mao Wenlong looked at Qin Haodong with some embarrassment. After all, he was also the guest of the gang leader. He didn't want the young man to lose the bet that could be seen at a glance. "Of course, I want to bet," Chin Haodong said and waved to Lin Momo. Lin Momo immediately wrote a check for $10 million and handed it to Mao Wenlong. Mao Wenlong sighed. Since both sides wanted to bet, he naturally couldn't stop them. He called the staff to verify the checks of both sides on the spot. After confirming that they were real and valid, a standard bet was made and signed by both sides. After getting the bet, Li Wangsai's big oily face immediately smiled like a chrysanthemum. In his opinion, not only had he gotten back the $5 million he had lost, but he had also earned another $5 million. Chin Haodong also smiled with satisfaction. Although $10 million was not a large amount of money, he was willing to see the annoying fat man bleed a little. Originally, many people felt that the stone cutting was boring, but when there was a bet of $10 million, everyone immediately became interested and continued to watch from the side. Some people even bought lunch and sat at the side, eating while watching. Unknowingly, 3 to 4 hours had passed. The 20 stone-cutting masters took turns to work without stopping. The original weight of the suppressing river stone, which weighed 10 tons 3 times, had been removed layer by layer. It was 10 times smaller than the original, leaving only about 2 or 3 tons. Until this moment, there was still no trace of green. Li Wangkai was sitting on the side. The coquettish woman was drinking iced water as she said, "Boy, you'd better admit defeat. Even if you grind this stone into powder, you won't see the shadow of jade." Not only her, but also the onlookers and Mao Wenlong were sure that Chin Haodong had lost the bet. Chin Haodong's expression was still calm. He had already felt that the spiritual qi of the suppressing river stone in front of him was getting stronger and stronger. He should be able to see the jade soon. Seeing that Chin Haodong did not speak, Li Wangkai thought that he had admitted defeat. After a burst of arrogant laughter, he said, "Boy, you really won't give up until you see the coffin. I tell you, if you can cut out the jade from this stone, I will eat it directly." But before he finished speaking, he suddenly heard a stone-cutting master shouting, "It's green, it's green, it's green on my side." Before people could react, another stone-cutting master shouted, "It's green on my side, too. It's green." In a short time, 3 stone-cutting masters shouted that there was green. Someone took the bucket and washed the rubbed place with clean water. Immediately, a rich green appeared. "My God, it's the glutinous rice type. How much is such a large piece of glutinous rice jade worth?" "What glutinous rice type?" "I think it's obviously the ice type." "Oh my God, my heart is about to jump out. My God, this suppressing river stone turned out to be a big jade. If I had known this, I would have fished it out earlier." The onlookers were suddenly boiling. Some were shocked, some sighed, and some stamped their feet and beat their chests. Especially those who knew about jade, they were so surprised that their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. It should be known that this jade had 3 windows in different positions. What did this mean? It meant that this suppressing river stone was likely to be full of jade. After such a long time of cutting, the suppressing river stone still weighed more than a ton. Even if some of the stone skin was erased, it still weighed nearly a ton. It was a high-quality jade between the glutinous rice type and the ice type. Oh my God, how much was it worth? 300 million? 500 million? Or 1 billion? Now the value of the suppressing river stone was simply immeasurable. It should be known that the value of a ton of whole jade was completely different from that of a ton of scattered jade. Some large works of art were small jades, which could not be carved no matter what. Li Wangkai was even more shocked and opened his mouth wide. After a long time, he pushed it with his hand. What the hell was going on? The suppressing river stone, which had been in the river for hundreds of years, turned out to be a great treasure. It had not been discovered for so many years. The most bitter thing was that he had made a bet with Chin Haodong, saying that as long as he cut out a nail-sized jade, he would pay Qin Haodong 10 million US dollars. Now, he was completely dumbfounded. Qin Haodong had cut out such a big piece of jade. Not to mention that he could not get back the 5 million US dollars, even the 10 million US dollars would be Qin Haodong's. Mao Wenlong was also shocked. As the head of the Jade Fair, he would see the suppressing river stone every day, but he had never thought that it was a big treasure. It turned out that Qin Haodong was not stupid, but he was blind. As the president of Lin's group, Lin Momo naturally knew the value of this unprecedented big jade. She was so excited that she grabbed Qin Haodong's hand and couldn't speak. She didn't expect that this man would bring her such a big surprise. Relatively speaking, Qin Haodong had already made sufficient predictions about this stone before, so he was still very calm. He said to a dozen stonecutters who were standing there like wax figures, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and work." Although these stonecutters had dealt with raw jade stones all year round, they had never seen such a big raw jade stone, let alone such a big jade, so they were just shocked. Now, after being woken up by Qin Haodong, they started the stone-cutting machine again and began to rub a huge piece of jade. "Sir, don't cut it anymore." With a stiff Wuxia language, a tall Indian businessman came over, followed by 7 or 8 bodyguards. He came to Qin Haodong and said excitedly, "Sir, I want to buy your jade. How about I pay 100 million US dollars, 100 million US dollars. Many people who had just closed their mouths were shocked again. Although they had already realized that this jade was very valuable, they did not expect that the Indian businessman would offer 100 million US dollars as soon as he opened his mouth. It should be known that Qin Haodong did not spend a penny. This big treasure from the river could be sold for 100 million US dollars. This was a good deal with high profits. However, Qin Haodong did not care about the sky-high price in other people's eyes at all. The value of this suppressing river stone was definitely more than 100 million US dollars. It was at least 10 times more. He said to the Indian businessman, "I'm sorry, I have no intention of selling this stone." Seeing that Qin Haodong refused him, the Indian businessman quickly said, "Do you think this price is too low? I can add 20 million more, 120 million US dollars. How about that?" Before Qin Haodong could speak, 2 more stonecutters shouted one after another, "It's green. Mine is also green." Now there were 5 windows on this suppressing river stone, all in different positions, which further proved that the jade in this stone was definitely not small. Seeing this situation, the Indian businessman gritted his teeth and said, 150 million US dollars. "Little brother, this is a lot of money, equivalent to 1 billion yuan. Sell it to me. I really want to buy it back." Qin Haodong waved his hand and said, "It's not about money. I really don't intend to sell this stone. I won't sell it even if you give me 1 billion US dollars, let alone 150 million US dollars. Seeing that he really had no intention of selling it, the Indian businessman could only shake his head regretfully. Then, he took out a golden business card from his pocket and gave it to Qin Haodong. "Little brother, if you have any intention of selling this jade, you must contact me. The price is negotiable." After that, he left with his men. Qin Haodong took the business card and looked at it. This Indian was really rich. The business card was made of pure gold. He smiled and put the business card in his pocket. Then, he looked at Li Wangkai next to him and said happily, "How about it? Now, has our bet come to an end?" Li Wangkai smiled awkwardly and said with a flattering face, "Little brother, you're really lucky. I'm here to congratulate you. You see that your stone is worth so much money. Can we forget our bet?" After that, he looked at Qin Haodong expectantly, hoping that the young Wuxia man would be happy enough to waive his bet. However, he was disappointed. Qin Haodong said with a smile, "This bet was proposed by you. Although I am very rich, a grasshopper's leg is also meat. Naturally, I will take the money I won." After that, he waved to Mao Wenlong. Mao Wenlong immediately sent 2 checks of $10 million to Qin Haodong's hand. Seeing that Qin Haodong really took away his $10 million, Li Huangkai was very angry. He scolded in his heart, "You picked up a stone at random. Others rushed to give you 1 billion yuan, but you didn't sell it. Why did you rob me of my little money?" But he had to admit defeat. Their bet was carried out under the notarization of the Jade Gang. Since he had lost, he dared not say anything. In just a few minutes, more than a dozen windows were opened on the raw jade stone. Each window was full of green. Obviously, there was a large piece of complete jade inside the suppressing river stone. "Well, don't wipe it anymore." Qin Haodong stopped those stone cutters. This suppressing river stone had already had the effect he wanted. There was no need to cut it out completely. Looking at such a large piece of jade in front of them, many people couldn't help but drool. A touch of greed flashed in Li Huangkai's eyes. He took out his mobile phone and walked out of the crowd. Chapter 426. Li Huangkai found a quiet place and asked the beautiful woman to stand guard. Then he took out his mobile phone and dialed his cousin Ma Yu's phone number. There were 3 major gangs in the Golden Triangle. Ma Yu joined the Lutheran Society when he was a teenager and was now a leader. Ma Yu was still sound asleep even though it was already noon, as he had been tossing and turning with a woman last night until dawn. After being woken up by the phone, he looked at the number in a daze and picked up the phone with dissatisfaction. "Li Huangkai, what's the matter? You're disturbing my sleep." Although Li Huangkai was worth more than 100 million, he still needed to rely on Ma Yu to survive in Myanmar, so Ma Yu was not polite when talking to him. Li Huangkai said excitedly, "Cousin, here's the thing. There's a good opportunity to make a fortune, so I'm calling you. If you have something to say, say it quickly." "What the hell is going on?" "Cousin, I came to the raw gemstone exhibition of the Jade Gang today. Guess what I saw? A big piece of jade that weighs a ton, and it can reach the level of ice type. Bullsh *T. Li Huangkai was immediately interrupted by Ma Yu, who scolded, "Do you think I'm a fool? I've been in Myanmar for decades, and I've never heard of a ton of jadeite. Even the F*King raw gemstones rarely weigh a ton. How dare you say that the jadeite weighs a ton? Are you kidding me?" "It's true, cousin. Let me finish." So Li Huangkai told the whole story of his conflict with Qin Haodong at the raw gemstone exhibition, until he finally fished out the suppressing river stone and cut out a huge jade. Finally, he said, "Cousin, you didn't see the quality of that jade. There was a businessman from India who offered $1 billion, but that guy didn't sell it." In order to attract Ma Yu's attention, Li Huangkai directly increased the price tenfold. In fact, the jade was indeed worth the price. Ma Yu jumped up from the bed and said sleepily, "Are you sure it's $1 billion? Are you kidding me? It's all true. I lost $15 million at the raw gemstone exhibition. How dare I fool my cousin?" After a pause, Li Huangkai said, "Cousin, if you can get that raw stone worth $1 billion, can you return my 15 million to me and give me a little reward?" Having been in the Lutheran Society for so many years, Ma Yu was quite smart. He thought for a moment and said, "I can't make such a big decision on my own. Come and find me now. Let's go see the president together. Don't worry. With the president's temper, as long as you're telling the truth, you'll be rewarded." He was very clear about the value of that jade. $1 billion was a huge fortune. It could definitely make all the gangs in Myanmar crazy. Although Li Huangkai had repeatedly belittled Qin Haodong, he knew that Qin Haodong was definitely not an ordinary person who could get such a large amount of wealth. Moreover, even if Qin Haodong was ordinary, there was still the Jade Gang. There were 3 major gangs in the Golden Triangle. The Jade Gang mainly dealt in jade, the White Wolf Gang mainly dealt in drugs, and the Lutheran Society mainly dealt in casinos. However, they were all gangs in essence. They would not let go of such a large amount of wealth. Therefore, he decided to report the situation to Ruan Jindong, the president of the Lutheran Society. Only the president could get the treasure. Half an hour later, Li Wangkai and Ma Yu appeared in the small conference room of the Lutheran Society. 4 people sat opposite them. The leader was Ruan Jindong, the president of the Lutheran Society. The other 3 were his younger brothers, Ruan Jinnan, Ruan Jinshi, and Ruan Jinbei. They were all vice presidents of the Lutheran Society. The 4 brothers of the Ruan family supported the whole Lutheran Society. They were also known as the 4 heroes of the Ruan family. Ruan Jindong glanced at Ma Yu and said, "Ask your cousin to tell me the situation again." He had just received a separate report from Ma Yu. Now he needed to explain the situation to his brothers and then discuss what to do next. Ruan Jindong waved his hand and asked Ma Yu to take Li Wangkai out of the conference room after Li Wangkai told him how to get the sky-high jade from the suppressing river stone. He said to his 3 brothers, "What do you think of this?" Ruan Jinbei immediately cried, "Brother, what's there to hesitate about? I'll immediately take people to the raw gemstone exhibition venue and grab the jade. Such a good thing can only belong to our Lutheran Society." Ruan Jindong frowned and said, "Brother, when can you change your hot temper and think about problems with your brain?" Ruan Jinbei smiled and said, "Brother, I'm a rough man. You 3 can do the thinking. Tell me when you're ready. I'll do it immediately." Ruan Jindong ignored him and turned to look at the other 2 brothers. Ruan Jinshi said, "Brother, we must get this jade. After all, it's worth $1 billion. But now it's in the hands of the Jade Gang. If we go to grab it, we must be fully prepared." Ruan Jinbei said, "It's not a big deal. Now the strength of the Jade Gang has been greatly damaged. How can they be a match for our Lutheran Society? Moreover, General Li's site has a clear ban that forbids us from using guns when we fight with each other. If we don't use guns, even if the White Wolf Gang and the Jade Gang join hands, they won't be a match for our Lutheran Society. At worst, I'll take the Bloody Clothes team and break Lu Hankuan's bones in 2 or 3 moves." The reason why he spoke so confidently was that the Lutheran Society had its own specialties. Among the 3 major gangs, they were in the gambling business. Half of the gambling business was in casinos, and the other half was in underground boxing arenas. Because they controlled the underground boxing arena, many underground boxers directly joined the Lutheran Society after they were injured or retired, so that the people of the Lutheran Society were much stronger than those of the other 2 gangs. Moreover, General Li's site had a ban on the 3 gangs, which was that they were strictly prohibited from using firearms. It should be known that the 3 gangs were all profitable businesses. They were all his cash cows. It was inevitable that the gangs would fight with each other, but they had to be protected as much as possible. That was why Li's site came up with such an idea. If they didn't use guns, there wouldn't be too many casualties after all. Ruan Jindong nodded and didn't say anything. He turned to look at Ruan Jinnan, who had been silent. Compared with the 2 brothers, Ruan Jinnan's character was much more gloomy. However, among the 4 brothers, he played the role of the brain, and was known as Xiao Zhuge in the gang. Ruan Jinnan said, "Brother, this is a good opportunity. We must seize it, but don't limit ourselves to this stone. We have to take a long-term view." Ruan Jinshi said, "Second brother, have you thought of any good ideas?" Ruan Jinbei said casually, "Second brother, I really don't know what your brain is made of. Your brain is full of evil ideas. I wonder if we were born from the same mother." "Shut up." Ruan Jindong glared at him and then said to Ruan Jinnan, "Second brother, tell me, what do you think?" Ruan Jinnan said, "Now there are 3 major gangs in the Golden Triangle. The Sirius Gang has changed its leader twice in just 3 months. I heard that a large number of people were injured in the fight with the Hong Kong Triad. Their strength is far less than before. The Jade Gang was indeed very strong when Zhou Tianhu was there, but now it was replaced by the old Lu Hankuan. Moreover, a lot of strength was lost in the internal fight. Now there are still some people in the gang who are trusted by Zhou Tianhu. They don't support Lu Hankuan, but they don't dare to show it. In this case, even if the two gangs join hands, they won't be a match for our Lutheran society. The reason why we didn't take action before was that we didn't find a suitable opportunity, and secondly, we had to respect General Li's sight. But now the opportunity is here. Ruan Jinbei said with a confused face, aren't we talking about the stone with a sky-high price of $1 billion? Why is it related to the Jade Gang again? And why did the opportunity come? Ruan Jindong glared at him again and said, don't talk. Listen to your second brother slowly. Ruan Jinnan said, at the beginning, General Li's sight divided the boundaries between our three gangs. We and the Jade Gang were divided by this river, but he never said that this river also belonged to the Jade Gang. Now the Jade Gang fished out the suppressing river stone in the river and sold it to that young man. We can think that they robbed our treasure. Since he dared to rob our suppressing river stone, we dare to rob his raw gemstone exhibition. I believe that they must have sold it for a lot of money today. Later, we will send someone to collect it together with the stone. After that, a smug sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. Good idea, really good idea. Ruan Jindong patted his thigh and cried, no one expected that there would be such a large piece of jade in the suppressing river stone. It not only gave us a fortune, but also gave us a chance to annex the Jade Gang. Now the Jade Gang violated the rules first. Even if we annex the raw gemstone exhibition, General Li's sight can't blame us. Yuan Jinshi said, second brother deserves to be called Xiao Zhuge. It's really admirable that you can think so far from a stone. Ruan Jinbei cried, don't talk nonsense. You do the thinking. I'll do the rest. I'll call a few brothers and go over there to grab the raw gemstone exhibition. Ruan Jinan said, this time, we are going to take them by surprise. We must succeed in one strike. So, you take 10 members of the Bloody Clothes team there. We must grab the raw gemstone exhibition and that piece of expensive jade. Ruan Jinbei agreed and immediately went out with his men. From the beginning to the end, when the four brothers of the Ruan family considered the problem, they only took the Jade Gang into account. They never considered the owner of this piece of expensive jade. In their opinion, Qin Haodong was just an ordinary businessman from Huaxia. At worst, he would be killed and thrown into the river. In a place like Myanmar, no one cared. In the raw gemstone exhibition. Since getting this huge piece of jade, Qin Haodong had lost interest in other raw gemstones. He no longer wandered around. He sat directly on the huge piece of jade with the little fellow in his arms. This piece of jade was also magical. Although the sun was scorching and the surrounding was hot, as long as one was around it, one would not feel hot. On the contrary, it was very cool. Lin Momo came to Qin Haodong's side and whispered, Haodong, should we transport this piece of jade back to Huaxia as soon as possible? It's too dangerous to leave it here. She was very clear about the situation in Myanmar. Even if the Jade Gang didn't want to take such a valuable piece of jade, there were other gangs. The sooner the better. Qin Haodong didn't care. He teased the little fellow and said, what's the hurry? This is my bait. I haven't caught a big fish yet. How can I transport it away? Chapter 427. Lin Momo was stunned and asked, what do you mean? Fishing? Fishing for what? Qin Haodong said, there are a total of 3 gangs in the Golden Triangle. Now the White Wolf Gang and the Jade Gang have been greatly damaged. Only the Lutheran Society is left. Do you think they can be at ease? Lin Momo said subconsciously, what does it have to do with us? Qin Haodong said, of course it does. Our new jade mine is about to be put into production. If Lu Hankuan can't completely control the situation of the Burmese gangs, there will be constant trouble. They dare not touch General Li's sight's shares, but they will inevitably want to get a share of the profits from us, the Jade Gang, and the White Wolf Gang. Instead of dealing with it at that time, it's better to solve all the troubles together now. Lin Momo seemed to understand and said, "You mean, the Lutheran Society will come to grab this jade?" "Of course." Qin Haodong stroked the jade and said, "This is a good thing worth more than $1 billion. If such a good bait can't catch fish, then the gangs are not gangs." Lin Momo suddenly understood. At first, she was a little strange. Since Qin Haodong knew that there was a high price of jade in the stone, why did he want to cut it here? As the saying goes, don't show your wealth. Once others knew the value of the stone, they would definitely have bad ideas. It was safest to take it back to Huaxia to cut it. Now she knew that Qin Haodong was waiting for trouble to come to him. Fortunately, he would solve it before returning to Huaxia. Qin Haodong really thought so. The Golden Triangle was not too big. The three gangs had spies among each other. He believed that it would not take long for the Lutheran Society to receive the news. As long as they dared to take the stone, even if he did not destroy the Lutheran Society, he would make them lose a lot of strength. At the same time, in a corner of the raw gemstone exhibition, Mao Wenlong was talking to Lu Hankuan on the phone. "Boss, it's like this. After so many years, no one expected that there was a treasure hidden in the stone. According to my preliminary estimate, the value of the jade is at least more than $1 billion. Speaking of this, Mao Wenlong paused and said with a little hesitation, "Boss, that stone was given to Mr. Qin by us. We didn't sell it. Do you think we should take it back?" On the other side of the phone, Lu Hankuan said in a cold voice, "Mao Wenlong, let me tell you, even if the jade is worth $10 billion, you are not allowed to have any bad ideas about it. Otherwise, be careful of your head." Mao Wenlong was so scared that his whole body trembled. He quickly said, "I know, gang leader." At the same time, he was also full of doubts. Now the Jade Gang was short of money. It was $1 billion. Why wasn't the leader tempted at all? Could it be that the young man from Huaxia had some special background? Considering that Mao Wenlong was his confidant, Lu Hankuan said, "Let me tell you, Mr. Qin is a distinguished guest of our Jade Gang. You can't offend him, and you can't afford to offend him. Even if you dare to do anything to that raw jade stone, you will get nothing in the end. On the contrary, you will lose your life." The outside world didn't know how Lu Hankuan regained the throne of the gang leader, but he knew very well that Qin had easily killed Zhou Tianhu and sent a maid to suppress the whole Jade Gang. This kind of person could only be a friend, and absolutely could not be provoked. Seeing that Lu Hankuan was so serious, Mao Wenlong knew that the young man from Huaxia was definitely not as simple as he looked. He said, "Boss, Mr. Qin didn't immediately take the expensive jade away after he cut it out. Instead, he left it in the raw gemstone exhibition. It's not far from the Lutheran Society. I'm afraid they will have some bad ideas." Lu Hankuan said, "You don't have to worry about what Dr. Qin does. He has his reasons for what he wants to do. You just need to serve him carefully. Remember that you must treat him like your ancestor. Don't offend him." After hanging up the phone, he pondered for a moment. Then he sneered and murmured, "Lutheran Society, don't let me down. You must make trouble for Dr. Qin. I believe you will be very surprised." Although the weather was very hot in the raw gemstone exhibition, people were still enthusiastic. They kept choosing the stones they liked. Suddenly, there was a commotion in the distance. Then the guests of the exhibition began to scatter and run to the other side. Soon the crowd dispersed. In the center of the large exhibition hall, there were only Qin Haodong's family of 3 sitting on the stone to enjoy the cool, and the 6 members of the divine mercenaries who were guarding next to them. It looked a little abrupt. Looking at a group of people rushing from a distance, Qin Haodong sneered. The Lutheran Society did not let him down. They came earlier than expected. On the side of the Lutheran Society, the leader was Ruan Zhenbei. Behind him were 10 big men in blood-red clothes. These people looked ferocious and full of killing intent. It was obvious that their hands were stained with blood. They were the core force of the Lutheran Society, the famous Bloody Clothes team. They were all the elite selected from the underground boxing field. Not only were they skilled, but they were also not afraid of death. Behind the blood-clothed team, there were 40 or 50 black-clothed men holding various weapons. They were also murderous, just like demons. On the side of the raw gemstone exhibition, the Jade Gang also arranged a lot of people to guard there. Under the leadership of Mao Wenlong, 60 or 70 people immediately gathered there with weapons in their hands. However, after seeing Wang Jinbei and the Bloody Clothes team behind him, Mao Wenlong immediately frowned. He was very clear about the strength of the Bloody Clothes team. Everyone's skills were no less than his, and they were not afraid of death. Usually, the Lutheran Society rarely used the Bloody Clothes team. Unexpectedly, there were 10 of them that day. It seemed that they were determined to get the expensive jade. Although he was afraid, Mao Wenlong didn't show it on the surface. He took 2 steps forward and said to Wang Jinbei, "President Wan, this is the territory of the Jade Gang." "What do you mean by this?" Wang Jinbei didn't take Mao Wenlong seriously at all. He looked around and saw the huge jade under Qin Haodong's buttocks at a glance. Under the illumination of the sun, the dozen or so windows on this piece of jade emitted a heart-stirring green light. Good stuff, it's really good stuff. Although Wang Jinbei was a rough man, he knew that this piece of jade was definitely a treasure. He turned to Mao Wenlong and shouted, "How dare you Jade Gang rob our Lutheran Society's things?" Mao Wenlong said in a cold voice, "President Wan, what do you mean? We have never interfered with each other. When did the Jade Gang rob the things of the Lutheran Society? This is the evidence." Wang Jinbei pointed to the jade under Qin Haodong's buttocks and said, "General Li Site said very clearly that this side of the river is the territory of your Jade Gang. But this river belongs to our Lutheran Society, and the suppressing river stone in it naturally belongs to our Lutheran Society. When did your Jade Gang give it away? Isn't this robbing?" Mao Wenlong knew very well that these people came for the expensive jade, but he still argued, "Wang Jinbei, what you said is wrong. Although General Li Site said that we drew the boundary across the river, he didn't say that this river belongs to your Lutheran Society. Naturally, the suppressing river stone doesn't belong to you." Wang Jinbei shouted rudely, "Don't talk nonsense. I said that it belongs to our Lutheran Society, which means that we entered the parliament. Now your Jade Gang robbed our things. Not only do you have to take out this jade to return it to us, but you also have to hand over the raw gemstone exhibition as compensation." Mao Wenlong stared at him and said angrily, "Wang Jinbei, are you going to rob us?" Wang Jinbei laughed and said, "Since you said it's a robbery, then it's a robbery. You can rob our suppressing river stone, and we can also rob your raw gemstone exhibition. In this world, the strong prey on the weak. Whoever's fist is harder is the truth." Mao Wenlong still wanted to say something, but he felt someone patting him on the shoulder. He turned around and saw Qin Haodong standing beside him with the little fellow in his arms. "Don't talk nonsense with them. These people are obviously here to rob. It's useless to talk more." He took 2 steps forward and came to Wang Jinbei. He said with a smile, "You said that whoever's fist is harder is the truth?" Wang Jinbei didn't put Qin Haodong in his eyes at all. At this time, seeing that Qin Haodong took the initiative to come to him, he said with a gloomy look, "I said that. What do you think? Boy, if you know what's good for you, you'd better give me that piece of jade. If I'm happy, I can spare your life. You want that piece of jade? Sure. But your fist must be hard enough." Qin Haodong stretched out his hand, raised his fist and looked at it. He nodded with satisfaction and said leisurely, "But I think my fist is harder. So you people, take out all the money in your pockets and get out of here." Puff! Wang Jinbei was so angry that he almost vomited blood. These people were obviously here to rob, but this toy boy actually asked him to leave the money. Was he crazy? The Bloody Clothes team behind him also showed fierce eyes and tightly held the big knives in their hands. As long as Wang Jinbei gave the order, they would immediately cut Qin Haodong into pieces. Mao Wenlong seemed to feel the tension in the atmosphere. He whispered in Qin Haodong's ear, "Mr. Qin, those people in red clothes are very powerful. You must be careful." Qin Haodong didn't mean to lower his voice at all. He glanced at the 10 people of the Bloody Clothes team and said jokingly, "What's so powerful about them? Aren't they wearing red clothes? Is it to scare people after death? But it's usually the female ghosts in red who are powerful. Even if they become ghosts, they won't be so powerful." Mao Wenlong still wanted to say something, but when he thought of Lu Hankuan's admiration for Qin Haodong, he finally held back and didn't speak. He also wanted to see what was so special about this young man. Seeing that the Huaxia man in front of him dared to provoke him again and again, Wang Junbei's eyes flashed fiercely. He waved his hand and said, "Kill him." As soon as his voice fell, a big man rushed out of the Bloody Clothes team and slashed at Qin Haodong with a big knife in his hand. In the past, others would tremble with fear when they saw the Bloody Clothes team, but this reckless guy in front of him dared to compare them to female ghosts. The big man was so angry that he would naturally not show mercy. He slashed at Qin Haodong's neck fiercely. Qin Haodong glanced at the big man in red and didn't pay any attention to him. Mao Wenlong was shocked. He knew very well how powerful the Bloody Clothes team was. The young man in front of him was holding a child, but he was still so arrogant in front of the Bloody Clothes team. Wasn't he looking for death? Just as he was about to step forward to help, suddenly a figure flashed, and a man had already stood in front of Qin Haodong. Then the big man in red screamed and flew more than 10 meters into the air. He began to vomit blood in midair. The blood stained his red clothes, which looked particularly strange and dazzling. Chapter 428. It was Saber who killed the red-clothed man in front of him with a casual punch. Although the Bloody Clothes team was extremely terrible in the eyes of others, in their opinion, they were not even qualified for Qin Haodong to fight. This time, everyone was shocked. Whether it was Mao Wenlong's side or Wang Junbei's side, they were all shocked by Saber's punch. No one expected that the Bloody Clothes team, which had always been fierce, could not even resist a punch from the man in front of them. Looking at the red-clothed man who was still vomiting blood, the little fellow clapped her hands and cried, "Idiot, what a big idiot." Qin Haodong looked at the dull Wang Junbei and said with a smile, "How about it? I said my fist is harder. Do you believe it now? Isn't there a master? What's the big deal? I have a lot of people here." After Wang Junbei finished speaking, he waved to the people behind him and said, "Let's go together and kill him." After receiving his order, the remaining 9 members of the Bloody Clothes team rushed up and rushed toward Qin Haodong and Saber with a murderous look. Qin Haodong's figure flashed, and sword and spear also rushed up and stood side by side with Saber. Although they were still at a disadvantage in terms of numbers, they were all masters who had entered the covert power level. How could they pay attention to the Bloody Clothes team in front of them? Although it was 1 against 3, it was still a crushing victory. Within a breath, all 9 members of the Bloody Clothes team were put down to the ground. Looking at the 10 people who fell to the ground, Qin Haodong stopped smiling and said, "Didn't you say that their fists are hard? Then I'll cripple all their fists." He had long seen that these people of the Bloody Clothes team were full of blood. It could be seen that everyone's hands were stained with blood, so he asked Saber and others to directly cripple their hands. After receiving Qin Haodong's order, Saber quickly came to a red-clothed man and stepped on his right hand. Then there was a terrible sound of bones cracking and the red-clothed man's miserable cry. However, the Saber was not affected in the slightest. Then, he stepped forward and crushed the red-clothed man's left hand. From now on, he could no longer hold a saber, clench his fists, or do evil. He had completely become a cripple. Sword and spear also did the same. In the blink of an eye, all 10 members of the Bloody Clothes team had their hands destroyed. Wang Junbei was completely dumbfounded. The Bloody Clothes team was the biggest reliance of the Lutheran society. In the past, every time they went out, they were successful. There were only 30 members in total. Today, in order to win the raw gemstone exhibition, they brought 10 of them. But never in his wildest dreams did he expect that he would be crippled as soon as he arrived here. Mao Wenlong's heart also set off stormy waves. No wonder Lu Hankuan was so respectful to this young man. He really had strength. The bloody clothes team, which made them tremble in fear in the past, was easily beaten like a dog. Qin Haodong took 2 steps forward, looked at Wang Junbei coldly and said, "It's your turn. Let's see if your fist is hard or not." Meeting Qin Haodong's eyes, Wang Junbei's heart trembled and he involuntarily took 2 steps back. He was originally a very swift and fierce person, but after seeing this gaze, he didn't even have the courage to make a move. He took another look at Saber and others, who were staring at him covetously. He knew that he had miscalculated. Qin Haodong did not only have one master bodyguard, but also any one of them was a master. Although there were still 40 or 50 men in black standing behind him, these people were not as strong as the bloody clothes team. Qin Haodong still had 3 people on his side who had not made a move. Under such circumstances, they had been completely at a disadvantage. Seeing his fearful eyes, Qin Haodong knew that he was a bully and feared the strong. He said disdainfully, "What? You don't dare to compete? Since you've admitted defeat, then do as I say. Leave all your money behind and get the hell out of here." Although Wang Junbei was afraid, he still couldn't let go of his pride. After all, he was the vice president of the Lutheran Society. Originally, he came to rob others, but he was robbed by others. What face would he have if it was spread out? "Boy, don't go too far. I'm Wang Junbei of the Lutheran Society." Now, he could only use the name of the Lutheran Society, hoping to suppress the little white face in front of him. Lutheran Society? Even if it's the Heaven and Earth Society or the Red Flower Society, I will still beat them. Qin Haodong said, "Since you come to rob my things, you should be prepared to be robbed." Qin Haodong waved to Saber and Mao Wenlong and said, "Take all their money. If they resist, break their limbs immediately." "Got it, boss," Saber answered. He came to Wang Junbei and said with a smile, "Boy, do you want to pay by yourself, or do you want me to do it?" Mao Wenlong and his men all laughed. Asking the vice president of the Lutheran Society for money was not a robbery at all, but a slap in the face. Wang Junbei's face turned red. In the end, he couldn't control his anger. He shouted, "I'll kill you." After that, he punched hard at Saber's face. This guy had been practicing martial arts since he was a child, and his skills were really good. He was even better than those people in the bloody clothes team. It was a pity that he was facing Saber of the Divine Mercenaries, a strong man who had entered the threshold of covert power. Saber raised his hand and punched at Wang Junbei's fist. It seemed to be an understatement and he didn't use much strength, but after the 2 fists collided, there was a muffled bang, and then Wang Junbei let out a heart-wrenching scream. It turned out that his fist was really not hard enough. Just like that, not only were the phalanges of his 5 fingers all broken, but even his arm was shaken off. Saber sneered and said, "How about it? Do you want to do it again?" Wang Junbei had been completely frightened by this punch. He didn't have the courage to make another move. Knowing that he had met a tough opponent today, he could only endure the pain and then use his remaining left hand to take out the wallet in his pocket while trembling. Seeing that the vice president had given in, the men in black behind him didn't dare to act rashly. They obediently let Mao Wenlong's men search them. It was a pity that they came out to rob. They didn't think that they would be robbed. Their pockets were empty and they didn't bring anything. Seeing that he only got Wang Junbei's wallet, which contained dozens of US dollars, Qin Haodong was obviously not satisfied with the result. He glanced at the silent men in black and said lightly, "Since you have no money, take off all your clothes. Just leave a pair of underwear for each of you." Hearing that Qin Haodong was going to take off their clothes, Ruan Jinbei shouted angrily, "Boy, you can kill me but you can't humiliate me. Don't go too far." "Really? You're quite courageous." Qin Haodong sneered and said to Ruan Jinbei and his men, "Since you came here to rob, you should be prepared to be robbed. I'll give you 2 ways. First, take off your clothes and get out of here. Second, that's death." Speaking of this, he was full of strong killing intent. He pointed to a line in front of him and said, "I'll give you 1 minute. Those who choose the first way stand on the left, and those who choose the second way stand on the right." Seeing Qin Haodong's eyes full of killing intent, no one would doubt that he was joking. In less than half a minute, all the men in black were on his left side. Even the members of the Bloody Clothes team who were seriously injured and fell to the ground crawled to the left. Obviously, they could be killed but they could not be humiliated. This sentence was not suitable for them. In the end, only Ruan Jinbei was left standing there alone. After hesitating for a moment, he lowered his head and ran to the left. Qin Haodong smiled playfully and waved his hand to Mao Wenlong. Mao Wenlong immediately asked his men to strip all the clothes of Ruan Jinbei and the others, leaving only a pair of underwear for each of them. Although the temperature in Burma was very high and they did not feel cold wearing only a pair of underwear, it was not their clothes that were taken off, but everyone's face, the face of the Lutheran Society. After today, the power of the Lutheran Society in the Golden Triangle would inevitably plummet. Soon, Ruan Jinbei ran out of the raw gemstone exhibition with a group of almost naked men. When they came, almost everyone thought that they would make a fortune. No one expected that they would be robbed and run back with only a pair of underwear. The people of the Lutheran Society were driven away, and the raw gemstone exhibition returned to normal. Originally, those guests did not really leave, but hid far away to watch the fun. Now that everything was fine, they came back again. Mao Wenlong was extremely excited. He had been fighting with the Lutheran Society for so long. Most of the time, he was at a disadvantage, but he had never been so happy. He came to Qin Haodong and said respectfully, "Mr. Qin, what about these clothes?" His previous respect was superficial, because it was because of Lu Hankuan's order. At this time, his respect was completely from the bottom of his heart. He knew that this young man was definitely an existence that he looked up to. "Do whatever you want. It's up to you." Qin Haodong stripped these people's clothes in order to defeat the Lutheran Society's momentum. Now that the purpose had been achieved, these clothes were no longer useful. He said again, "Find a pickup truck, put this jade in the car, and then send it to Huaxia for me." Mao Wenlong now understood why Qin Haodong was not in a hurry to take this jade away. It turned out that he wanted to lure the Lutheran Society. He said, "Don't worry, Mr. Qin. I will send more people to send it safely to Huaxia." Qin Haodong said, "No need. You can send a driver." Mao Wenlong was stunned and said quickly, "Mr. Qin, this is not a safe place. Now many people are staring at this jade. If we don't protect it well, it will be easily taken away." Qin Haodong shook his head and said, "It doesn't matter. Whoever wants to take it can do it. Tell your driver to run immediately in case of danger. Don't lose your life for this stone." "This? Mr. Qin, are you kidding?" Mao Wenlong was completely stunned. He felt that his IQ could not keep up with the young man in front of him. If it had been before, he would have thought that Qin Haodong was a madman. But from fishing the suppressing river stone to defeating the Lutheran Society, it all showed the unique wisdom of this young man. It was not that Qin Haodong was an idiot, but that his IQ could not keep up. Qin Haodong said, "Of course I'm not kidding. Just do as I say." "Okay, I'll arrange it right away." Mao Wenlong agreed and immediately asked someone to drive a pickup truck. The jade stone, which was worth $1 billion, was loaded into the truck. Then, he found a piece of canvas and wrapped it according to Qin Haodong's instructions. Qin Haodong and the others did not stay there any longer. They left the raw gemstone exhibition with the pickup truck. After leaving the exhibition, Qin Haodong asked Saber to give the driver of the pickup truck $10,000 and a few packs of cigarettes. Then, he let the driver drive away. Looking at the back of the pickup truck, Lin Momo asked doubtfully, "Haodong, is this okay? Could it have been robbed?" Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Of course, the Lutheran Society will definitely take it away. Sorry, it was messed up during the festival. I sent it once, and my wife sent it again. I'm changing the content now. I promise you won't spend a penny more." Chapter 429. Lin Momo didn't understand why Qin Haodong would take the initiative to give such a precious jade to others. She asked in surprise, "What do you mean?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Don't be nervous. I've just put the jade in the storage ring. Now it's just a large piece of ordinary stone under the canvas. Whoever wants to grab it can grab it." At this time, the little fellow said, "Papa, where are we going now?" Qin Haodong said, "Now let's go to eat delicious food, and then go to a fun place in the evening." At the headquarters of the Lutheran Society, Ruan Zhendong couldn't believe his eyes when he saw Ruan Zhenbei and dozens of men left with only a pair of underwear. After so many years, when had the Lutheran Society ever suffered such a big loss? It was so humiliating. And now it was not just humiliating. Ruan Zhenbei's right hand was disabled, and the 10 members of the Bloody Clothes team were all disabled, which made the strength of the Lutheran Society suffer a great loss. This situation made Ruan Zhennan, who had always been calm, change his expression greatly. He asked, "Fourth brother, what the hell is going on?" In his opinion, it should be very easy for the Lutheran Society to send so many elites to wipe out a raw gemstone exhibition under the Jade Gang. How could they suffer such a big loss? "Eldest brother, second brother, you must avenge me. That guy is such a bully." At this time, Ruan Zhenbei had lost his previous tough image. As he spoke, he cried with snot and tears. No wonder he was on the verge of a breakdown. With the strength of the Lutheran Society, he had never suffered a loss for so many years. Yet today, not only had one of his arms been crippled, he'd even been stripped to the point that he was only left with a pair of underwear. Not only had he suffered a mental blow, but he'd also suffered a mental blow, and it was truly difficult for him to endure. After hearing this, Ruan Zhendong's face was gloomy as if it was about to drip water. He waved his hand and said, "Arrange for the best doctor to treat the injured brothers immediately." Ruan Zhenbei was taken away. Ruan Zhendong glanced at Ruan Zhennan and Ruan Zhenxi and said in a cold voice, "Since our Lutheran Society became one of the 3 gangs in the Golden Triangle, we have never suffered such a big loss. If we don't get back at them, I'm afraid we will be the laughing stock of the whole Burma in the future." Ruan Zhennan said, "It's my fault. We only considered the Jade Gang, but we didn't expect the guy who bought the stone to be so strong." Ruan Zhenxi said angrily, "So what if you're strong? He's not a member of our Golden Triangle's 3 major gangs. I'll bring dozens of gunmen to kill him later. No matter how powerful he is, can he be more powerful than a gun?" In his opinion, the Lutheran Society had suffered such a great loss because they didn't have guns. Ruan Zhennan said, "Don't worry. Only by knowing yourself and your enemy can you win every battle. This time, we must find out the details of that person and find out if he has any other hidden strength. Then, we will take action." Ruan Zhendong said, "Second brother is right. This time, we must be fully prepared. We must not suffer any more losses. We must find out what that guy does and what relationship he has with the White Wolf Gang and the Jade Gang. In addition, we have already suffered such a big loss today. We must get that piece of jade worth $1 billion. Otherwise, the loss outweighs the gain." Ruan Zhenxi said, "Brother, I'll bring dozens of gunmen to get the stone back immediately." At that moment, Ruan Zhendong's phone rang. He picked up the phone and listened. Soon, he put down the phone and said, the spy we planted in the raw gemstone exhibition sent the news. It said that the guy has loaded the expensive jade on a pickup truck and is now sending it to Huaxia. Good opportunity. Ruan Jinshi said excitedly, once the jade gang leaves, the expensive jade will belong to our Lutheran society. No one can take it away. I'll take people there now. Wang Zhendong said, don't worry. It's weird. After the guy loaded the expensive jade on the pickup truck, he didn't even send a guard. He just let the driver drive away. Don't worry. I'll take gunmen there. No matter how many masters he sends, it's useless. Ruan Jinshi suddenly came to his senses and asked in surprise, what? Not a single guard? Brother, did you hear it wrong? Yes, I heard it clearly. The pickup truck did not have any protection at all. Ruan Zhendong frowned and said, it's really strange. Normally, a good thing worth $1 billion should be protected with all their strength. Why is there no guard? It seems that they want it to be taken away. What's wrong with it? Ruan Jinshi said, brother, is it possible that the car is loaded with a fake stone? Was the expensive jade really hidden by him? Ruan Zhendong said, that's impossible. Our people have been watching them. They saw them load the expensive jade into the car with their own eyes. Moreover, this jade weighs about a ton. It's not a small thing that can be taken away casually in a pocket. The young man left empty-handed. It's impossible to change it. Is the driver a master who can fight against 100 people alone? No. Our people have found out. The guy is called Abada. He's just an ordinary driver at the raw gemstone exhibition. He can do nothing but driving. That's really strange. Ruan Jinshi thought for a moment, then suddenly slapped his thigh and cried, I understand, brother. That guy must know that it's useless to defend, so he simply used an empty city strategy to scare us. That's also possible. Ruan Zhendong thought for a moment and turned to look at Ruan Zhennan. Second brother, what do you think? Ruan Zhennan shook his head and said, it's too strange. I can't see through it. How about this? I'll take some people with third brother. Don't rush to do it. Let's see the situation first. Ruan Zhendong said, that's good. I'll be relieved if you go. After the discussion, Ruan Zhennan and Ruan Jinshi got in the car and set off with dozens of gunmen. Abada was nervous and excited driving the pickup truck. He was nervous because the car was pulling the expensive jade worth $1 billion. That was $1 billion, which made people tremble just thinking about it. Because of this, they were likely to encounter unexpected situations on the road. He was excited because Qin Haodong had just given him $10,000, which was now in his pocket. With this money, he could immediately marry a beautiful wife and go home. Moreover, Mao Wenlong had already told him that if there was an abnormal situation, he could get out of the car and run for his life. He didn't need to worry about anything else. He also didn't understand why such an important thing wasn't protected by more people and more money. Why did he drive it away alone? What was the difference between giving it to someone else? However, he was just a small driver. He only needed to drive well. These were not things he needed to think about. He originally thought that someone would come to grab the jade soon, but it was already sunset and the surroundings were still quiet. Although a few cars passed by from time to time, no one made a move. After driving for another full hour, the sky was completely dark. There were no street lights on the road at all, and the surroundings looked a little scary in the dark. At that moment, Abada suddenly found a car lying in the middle of the road. There were 4 or 5 people standing in front of the car, each with an AK in their hands. Damn it, they're finally here. As soon as he saw the situation, he was sure that they were here to grab the sky-high jade. Abada slammed on the brake, opened the door, got out, and ran away. Soon, he disappeared into the night. Compared to the jade in the back of the car, he cared more about his life and the $10,000 in his pocket. Anyway, the boss had already told him that he didn't need to be responsible for the rest. The people who were ready to rob the car were stunned. They didn't shoot just now because they were afraid that if the car overturned, it would hurt the sky-high jade in the back. However, they didn't expect that the driver of the other party would run away when he saw them get out of the car, leaving the car and the jade behind. In doubt, several people slowly approached the pickup truck and checked. The jade in the back of the car was still there. "Big brother, what should we do?" asked a man in black with a hoarse voice. "Why do you care so much? Anyway, the treasure is in our hands. Hurry up and drive away." After saying that, another man in black reached for the door of the driver's seat. However, before he could get in the car, there was a sudden gunshot. There was a black hole in the head of the man in black, and he fell to the ground on his back. The rest of the men in black grabbed the AKs in their hands and looked around to find the enemy. Suddenly, a deep voice came from the night sky, "The Lutheran Society is here. Those who have nothing to do with this, get out of here." Then, countless car lights turned on everywhere, and off-road vehicles rushed over and surrounded the place. Seeing the situation, the men in black didn't dare to stay any longer. They didn't even care about the bodies of their companions. They immediately ran away and soon disappeared into the night. Ruanjinan and Ruanjinshi had been following the pickup truck with their men. They didn't find anything unusual along the way. Seeing that the sky-high jade was about to be taken away by the thief, they took action. Ruanjinshi kicked away the body on the ground and said, "Second brother, it was too easy." Ruanjinan said, "Don't worry about it. Hurry up and ask someone to drive away." Ruanjinshi patted the sky-high jade wrapped in canvas on the back of the car and said, "Should we check it?" Ruanjinan said, "No need. It's not easy to change such a big thing. Moreover, the White Wolf Gang and the Jade Gang may send people here soon. Let's drive it back to our house first." "You're right. Let's go," Ruanjinshi said as he got in the pickup truck and sat in the driver's seat. They hurried to the headquarters of the Lutheran Society. Qin Haodong asked for a few cars from Mao Wenlong. The group of people toured around the city of Pakant. Near evening, they enjoyed a delicious meal here. After dinner, they got in the car and drove in the direction of the city center. Seeing that they were not going back to the hotel, Lin Momo said, "Haodong, where are we going?" Qin Haodong said, "Those poor guys didn't have much money with them this afternoon. It's not fun to rob them. Let's go to the boxing field of the Lutheran Society now. There must be a lot of money there." Lin Momo immediately understood that they were going to the Lutheran Society. She said, "Is it appropriate to take me to that place? Why don't you take us back to the hotel first?" The little fellow hurriedly cried, "No. No. I want to be with Dad." Qin Haodong patted the little fellow's head and said, "It doesn't matter. Our daughter has the Suzaku sacred body. She is destined to be an extraordinary person in the future. It's okay to go to the boxing field and have a look." Soon, they arrived in front of a huge golden building. If it were in Huaxia, it would be a nightclub or entertainment center. But in Myanmar, it was the largest underground boxing field of the Lutheran Society. Here, even drugs were legal, let alone underground boxing. Therefore, every night when night fell, this place would be filled with rich people seeking excitement. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.